Ms. Jones, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Welcome and thank you. If you could please call the roll, please.
Yes, Councilmember Cousins,
Here remotely from 7648 Forest Street in Dexter, Michigan.
thank you. Councilmember Fisher,
Yes, 3035 Inverness is my address, and I'm participating from there. Donna Fisher.
Councilmember Griffin,
Here, participating virtually from Dexter, Michigan.
thank you. Councilmember Hubbard,
Here, participating remotely from Dexter, Michigan.
Councilmember Knight,
Here remotely from Dexter, Michigan.
Councilmember Michelle,
Dexter City, Michigan.
Mayor Keough,
Present from my home in the city of Dexter, Michigan.
Student Rep Alex Gilbert,
President from Webster Township.
and Student Rep Isabella Malik.
Present from Ann Arbor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Item C on the agenda this evening is approval of the meeting minutes. We have two sets of minutes, one from our regular city council meeting on November 23rd, and then from our special city council meeting on November 30th. So if there's a motion, we could take them both at the same time or one at a time. However, people feel free to want to word it. I see a hand up, Ms. Knight.
Yes, I'll make the motion.
Okay, to approve both sets of minutes.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Is there a second?
I'll
Cousins.
second.
Mr. Cousins, thanks, Paul.
Yes.
Okay, appreciate you seconding the motion. Ms. Knight, do you have any corrections or comments you'd like to make on the minutes?
I do not.
Okay, Mr. Cousins, how about you, sir?
I'm all set. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. Other council members, any comments on the meeting minutes? Alex, I see your hand is up, please.
Yes, on the meeting minutes from the regular meeting on November 23rd, under item C, offline is spelled as one word. However, under item E, it's hyphenated. I believe the offline under item E should be changed to be one word.
Good
Okay.
catch.
Thank you. Okay, good comment. Other comments from council members? Ms. Griffin?
Yep. For the 23rd, meeting minutes on the 23rd, C1, approval of those minutes from November 9th. I actually abstained because I wasn't at the meeting on November 9th, so I didn't feel qualified to approve those minutes. So I'm noted as an aye, but I technically abstained. And
That's true.
then-
We can correct that.
And then still on that same one, I think, J, consent agenda consideration of J3, consideration of setting a public hearing. It says December 4th, but I think it should read December 14th.
Correct. Good
Yeah.
catch. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's all I had on the agenda.
Okay, thank you for catching both of those.
Yep.
Anyone else see any corrections or have any comments? Okay, I assume Ms. Knight and Mr. Cousins, that it's okay to accept those as friendly amendments to the motion to approve?
Yes,
Absolutely on my end. Yep.
Okay, Ms. Jones, if you would call the vote to approve the motion to approve both sets of minutes, I'd appreciate it, please.
Yes. Michelle,
Yes.
Knight,
yes,
Griffin,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes,
Cousins,
Yes.
Keough.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. The minutes are approved. Item D on the agenda this evening is our farmers market manager, Dana Queen, is here to talk to us about how we did this year. Welcome, Dana.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm hiding in
welcome.
a friend of mine's basement because I have 3 small children that will not allow me to do such a thing. So I am hiding in my friend's basement, but I'm here and Justin is going to do screen sharing for me and hopefully we can make technology work. So what you see on your first slide there are some lovely photos of some herbs from Noka Homestead, veggies from Rulig's Produce returned to us after a 3-year hiatus, and also Jeff Peters flowers there kind of in the center. Everybody loves Jeff Peters. You also see our vertical style logo done by Graciela Demarath. Am I saying that right? And so she's made a beautiful logo for us. We also have a horizontal one that you'll see at the end of the presentation. Yep. A question? No? Okay. So this document is supposed to be also used on our website to make it kind of a lookbook style thing for customers and vendors to be able to see what we're doing. So there are a lot of words. I'm not going to read everything for you guys. I'll let you read it, at your leisure. So there on the second page, you'll see Anna Wiley from Jacob's Fresh Farm. They're at her booth at the market wearing her mask and everything. And also Noelle Dronin from Noka Homestead. That is not a photo from her at the market. I know she's not wearing a mask. And you'll also see all of our information. We started up a lot more social media this year, and an weekly email newsletter through some also technology lacking on my part. I accidentally added a lot of email addresses that weren't supposed to be there, but in the end we did end up having about 850 readers per week, reaching 850 people. Our Facebook page, we got up to about 600 followers. Our Instagram is at 880, and our Twitter is at a sad 30, but I don't use Twitter very often. So you find all that information there on that second page. We can go on to the next page, please. I thought we would go ahead and get all of the COVID changes that we made this year out of the way first. Let's see. First of all, we started a month later. We were supposed to start in May, but we pushed it back to June because of all of the kind of COVID craziness, everybody kind of figuring out what was safe and what was reasonable. For example, we did not do Tuesday markets this year, number one, because there were fewer vendors that were willing to come because they didn't want to risk the virus and everything. And also I couldn't find very good babysitting at the time because all of my babysitters are elderly people who are at risk. So we cut out Tuesday, we started a little later, and we did not do any activities, no music, no painting pumpkins, no treasure hunt. None of the fun stuff that we were doing last year or that we've done for years was able to be done, which is of course understandable. In addition, other changes that we made were masks all the time, vendors and customers at all times. We made some floor markings on the sidewalk and fenced everything in so that everything would move one way, going from the north at the library to the south toward Main Street. We had the hand washing station that we always have there. We put it right there at like our north gate type of space. So everybody could wash their hands. We also had sanitizer all through, both on our DPW put up dispensers on the posts, and then every vendor had some on their table available. We did a little program, a little idea that I had, offering some pickup spaces for people. If they were to call their vendor ahead of time and say, I'd like to pick up X, Y, and Z, I will come to pick up spot number 1 and text you. They can come and just have their stuff loaded into their car. That didn't really take off. That didn't really work for vendors and customers. So that was not the most successful thing. You can also see there in the caption, excuse me, that's Noelle again there. You can see a good example of how the vendors were setting up their tables to make space between the food and the customer, and between themselves and the customer, and how they exchanged cash so that cash wasn't just exchanging hands, it goes into a jar and weights and these sorts of things. All of that stuff is kind of written there. We can go on to the next slide. Here are some little more, I need to zoom in, excuse me. Some more concrete numbers. Our daily mean average for vendors, their income, produce 425, other food 275. These numbers are there. You guys can read them just fine. The thing that I'm very proud of, though, is that we did manage to secure a satellite SNAP card reader. So we were able to take food stamps, food assistance benefits at the market. We also have a grant called Double Up Food Bucks, which for every $1 that you spend on your SNAP card, you get $1 in Double Up Food Bucks. So an example might be the customer comes up to me and I slide their card and they say, I'd like to spend $10. And so I give them $10 in wooden tokens. And then I also give them $10 in metal tokens. Those are the double up food bucks tokens. And those ones can only be spent on fresh fruits and vegetables. But then your wooden tokens can be reserved for meat and eggs and honey and every other kind of thing, or you can use, on more fruits and vegetables. But it makes farmers markets so much more accessible to a wider demographic of people, and just was really, really beneficial to me personally. I was a beneficiary of the PEBT cards that were sent out to free lunch recipients. And so I was able to spend twice as much as I could have there. And I got tons of really nutritious food and stuff that really lasted us well. And it made me feel good. And I was able to put money into the pocket of our vendors, which was really, really nice. And you'll see there, we had $871 move through the market this year because of food assistance. And last year, of course, we had 0 because we had not been accepting it. Also, you see a little pie chart showing kind of what people are spending average when they come down there. Not a whole lot, but certainly we're happy to get it. You can also see in the photo in the upper right corner, it's the only photo I have of the fence being up. I guess I was resistant of taking pictures of the fence because it made me feel bad, but that is what the fence was looking like there. We can go on to the next slide when you're ready. Wonderful. So then some lovely graphs of our attendance. You can see vendor attendance is pretty consistent. We had a little bump up at the end. I suddenly got 5 brand new vendors at the end, had never been in farmers markets before. And I was really excited. They all did really, really well. It worked out easily anyway, because I didn't have a whole lot of work to do that last month. So I trained them up pretty well and they did well. And then of course our customers do the normal arc like they do. It's kind of slow at the beginning and then lots of fun, and then school starts and everybody kind of clears out. So our mean daily average in 2020 was 490 people. And then the average last year was 517. I personally see that as at least, I see that as a victory, or even as more people, because we really encourage people not to send more than one person from their families. So when I am counting away, when I'm down there, I'm counting every single person about 14 years and older, anybody who looks like they might have money in their pocket. And so there were times where I was seeing just one person from a family, one person from a couple. And so I knew if it were a normal year, there would have been 2 or more. So I was pretty pleased with that. We can go on to the next one. And so these next 2 slides are really just kind of telling prospective customers or vendors when they're looking at it in the future, what we usually have, a pretty wide variety of fruits, vegetables, meats, fish, and it's a pretty difficult time getting dairy into just about any farmer's market. So that's a little bit harder for us, but just about everything else we've got figured out. The highlights from this year regarding what we had are that we got Ski's Sausage Company. If you guys have been down there, he is a big hit. The sausages that he makes are fantastic. And Dan Ivansky is his name, and his father has been a person of note in Dexter. I don't know him personally, but everybody knew who Dan was. And so he definitely had a great time and did very well. And the food he brought was fantastic. We also had another vendor who started offering Scottish Highlander beef cuts, which was pretty cool, pretty exciting. He sold those pretty quickly. And yes, the return of Rulig's produce was something really, really great. She had 2 very big tables full of just everything that you normally look for, just tons of it. And, cabbage is the size of your head, and, just all of the amazing things that Rulig's can do. So we really enjoyed having Janelle back. And then on the next page, you'll see list of our crafts, soaps, and wood. We got some furniture woodworkers is what I'm trying to say. And they made some beautiful tables and lazy Susans and things like that, and great stuff like that. We can go on to the next slide. So here's me. And these are all of the wonderful things that I've done this year and in the off season to try and better our farmers market and be a better leader to everybody and be a better host to everybody. I am now a certified farmers market manager from MIFMA, Michigan Farmers Market Association. Thank you very much. Let's see, I worked at the Acorn Farmers Market, which was also operating as the the Manchester Winters Market last year, and made some really great connections with other folks that work in Five Healthy Towns Foundation and other vendors, and just more experience during the off season. Let's see, there's more list of stuff there that is stuff that I've already talked about, just maintaining our stuff, even though it was COVID, and patting myself on the back a little bit. And so we can go on to the next slide. We don't have to look at my face anymore. This is a cute little in-between slide there with some of that great smoked salmon from Alaska, the shoreline wild salmon, Alaskan salmon, and then these funny guys from the woodworking shop. They were just very charming, really great guys, fun guys. And then our last two slides. Here are some ideas that I had that I was hoping to ask for permission for. I don't think any of them are terribly expensive. Certainly they can come out of my budget. I seem to have a lot of extra money left. But the few things that I am thinking of doing are, excuse me. So finishing up with the new logos that we have, making new signs. The sign at the site at the market right now is still our old sign. Get some new, like sandwich board signs that I put out during each market day, pointing, that sort of thing, kind of finish changing over our logo into those sorts of things. And then also putting our logo onto some t-shirts and market bags and things like that to help, fund the market and do great word of mouth and kind of free advertising. A good way to get people seeing our name and knowing that we exist, because there's still a lot of people who say Dexter has a farmer's market, and I say I've been working 2 years to stop hearing that, but still. Another thing I'd like to do, there are some serviceberry bushes on the kind of this concrete apron, that kind of sticks out from the market, and while they do make great shade and they are lovely, they tend to be more of a detriment than an asset. They block off where I could be adding more stalls, and also they kind of block the view. So when we're there, people, when they're driving by, they can't really see because the bushes are in the way. So I thought they might need to go and just go ahead and fill in their space with a little concrete. Another idea for the site, or I have several ideas for the site about that. One idea that had been floated before that I'd like for you guys to reconsider, painting the words, and then there's a little sun in the peak of every corner of the roofs of the market. It says Dexter Farmers Market, and there's a little sun. I think it would be more attractive if it were painted and more noticeable. Let's see, I'd like to have a banner across Alpine Street if it's possible during summer, during the season. That would be really great to me. Also the flags, similar to what the library has right next door, those lamppost flags, just right along the lampposts. I think year round would really help people feel more like it's more permanent. It's all, those signs will kind of always be there. So when people drive by, even in the wintertime, they say, oh, that's the farmer's market. I remember where that is. We also have the ability to accept credit cards now, since we can accept SNAP cards, and SNAP card processing is free of charge through agreements with MIFMA and Michigan MDHS. And so we can accept credit cards at a fee, but that may help to fund the market some more. And then hopefully once we're able to once COVID has abated, I don't know, whatever sort of horrible thing that is to say, but I'd like to try to do some billboards to try and bring attention to the market. And it's something that I had wanted to do this year to try and get more attention and really let people know that we're here. But obviously we didn't want to do that because we didn't want uncontrolled crowds. So I'd like to do billboards once we don't have we don't have a problem with it being crowds. Crowds will be good again at some point, I'd like to think so. And then our final slide here is just, you can see the horizontal version of our new logo, and a warm, heartfelt thanks to you guys and all of the residents of Dexter, and how wonderful it's been to have this job and to do this every year. And so proud of everybody for still coming and getting everything done and allowing it to continue to grow. Does anybody have any questions for me, or do I talk too much?
Well, Dana, first of all, congratulations on your certification as market
Thank you.
manager.
Thank you.
I think that's a great accomplishment, and proud to
Thank
have you helping us for now your second year, heading into the third year.
It is my pleasure.
I would agree with you that if the average attendance only, or whatever, went down by 27 people, if that's what it was, I would think that is a very good measure of success, given the environment we had all year long. So congratulations
Yes, I
to
was
you.
really
Hard
pleased
work.
that people weren't scared. Excuse me.
Does anybody have questions for Dana? Zach?
Yep. Gonna get a little technical question here. The daily mean average vendor income, do we know how we compare with other similar communities nearby for those numbers?
I don't. I looked into it. Ann Arbor tends to publish their, excuse me, tend to publish their numbers more readily, but it tends to be something that market managers can hide because it can scare vendors away if they say, oh, that's not a high enough number, that average, that I'm not even going to try. So there's a little bit of keeping your cards to the chest, but I can look into it and I can get back to you.
Okay. And do you know, is there a difference, or were we tracking the vendors who had their own credit card machines versus those who didn't?
None of my vendors accept credit cards except for one right now. And so next year, my intention is to be a little more forceful about finding out what people's incomes are every week. What I did at the Manchester market last winter is that we took everybody's income anonymously every day at the end of every market day. But with everything being crazy and changing, it felt like a little too invasive this year. But next year, I plan to track it more closely.
Would say my mom has made and sold ceramics for decades. And when she recently started, we finally convinced her to use the little square card. She noticed a huge difference because people don't carry $20 or $30 or $40 to buy those larger item things there.
You are absolutely right. And that is definitely, I mean, I had customers coming to me. I had my own best friend come to the market and say, nobody takes credit cards. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. But yeah, it's definitely something that people are really wanting. I need to set up kind of a system for it where I could run cards and then we would use market money rather than having each vendor run their own credit cards because they don't tend to want to pay the fees. Whereas we can kind of umbrella the fees and tie it in, or, roll it into their market fees, if you understand what I mean. If they pay every year, they pay their booth fee, we can raise it by $5 or so to help cover that those credit card fees.
And question for staff, did we pay for Mrs. Queen's MIFMA training? Do we know?
Yes, you did.
I believe we did.
Okay, good.
Yes, thank you.
Anything else, Zach?
Nope, I'm all good, thank you.
Okay, yeah, you're welcome. Other questions from other council members? Wow.
Paul here.
Sorry. Go ahead, Paul, and then we'll do Go ahead, Paul.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just have a quick comment. I just want to say thank you, Dana. I was there every week to pick up a farm share, and it's nice to see your face without a mask.
Oh, yes, I have a whole face. It comes all the way down to here. And yeah, it was wonderful to see you. Thank you very much for coming and meeting me and visiting with me. It was very cool. It was very exciting, a little intimidating. But I'm excited to see each of you guys when you're there. If I can recognize you. There were some times that Mayor Keogh was sneaking through. I saw his back running out of the end of the gate, and I hadn't recognized him because his face was all covered. But
Feeling broken.
At least I was counted.
Yeah, I had to count really fast.
Yeah. Okay, Paul? Thanks for
I
waiting.
just want to thank Dana for her effort because it wasn't an easy year to do that. I really felt that the process of safety was good. People were washing their hands, and I thought that was really a great effort on our part to make people feel safe. I certainly did, and I really thought that the market ran the best it could under the conditions it had. So I appreciate all that. So I got a couple of questions. What else? And I visit some other markets. I had a lot when I had the restaurant. I went to the Ann Arbor Farmers Market twice a week. Of course, that's a gigantic market, and I had a lot of friends there. Still have some of them there that I've known there for years. But is there anything that we could do to attract more vendors? Number one, first question. And secondly, I support you in a lot of your things that you're suggesting. The banners do work. A banner over there, and I can't remember how I voted, but I think I voted to paint what we didn't do on the market itself. But I would do that because I think anything that we can do to advertise this really good thing we have in the city here more and more all the time. So if you can answer, what else can the council do or us as individuals can do? I'd be happy to hear that. I really enjoyed the sausage guy. Their sausages are phenomenal. I've got a couple packages left in my freezer, and I think I bought 5 at the end of the year, so I'd have plenty throughout the winter. And we've gone through, I think, 3 or 4 of them already. So those guys are great, and they got good sausages.
Well, I have good news for you about Dan and Ski's sausage. They've already graduated from us. He said he's not going to leave me, but he's already at the Ann Arbor Market every Saturday. So they're available.
All right.
And they're really fantastic. And thank you very much. I worked hard to try and make sure that everything was safe. I was absolutely blown away. I did not have a single person be mean to me about wearing a mask. Some people showed up without masks. I had masks. I said, can you please wear this while you're it's absolutely free. Just, please wear it. And they did. They didn't say, well, I shouldn't or anything like that, or make it hard for me about our, the policy that we had. So that I was really grateful to everybody for that. And I don't understand your first question about how to track vendors. You mean like financially, like how much their income is, or what do you mean by track vendors?
No, I meant, I think that was Zach's question. Okay, my question is, I didn't know. I don't mean track vendors. Just try to get more of them into
attract vendors. I'm sorry, I misheard you.
Attract vendors.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have an open deadline on our application, and I am almost constantly kind of recruiting vendors. Whenever I run across somebody, I'm like, hey, do you need a market? Because I've got a market, and that kind of thing. Attracting more vendors is accepting credit cards will definitely make a huge difference.
I think so too.
And but other than that, we have a pretty glamorous spot. Like, they don't have to put up tents. They don't have to bother with bathrooms if the library is open. They, it's pretty cushy there. So I think what we're doing, I think what we've got is pretty good. It's just a matter of winding it up and continuing to, gain notoriety and things like that. And the credit card thing, absolutely the credit card thing. And really, last year you guys asked me, well, what can we do for you at the end? And I didn't have a list of stuff. And so the list of stuff is there just at the end. Those are the things that when I said, if they ask me, these are the things that I think would be most helpful. And most of them are not really a big deal or very expensive. So I figured they, we'll just kind of tack them all together. There's some things that are a bit larger, but really everything's going very smoothly. Everybody is really supportive in city administration and everything. And it's a dream job, everybody. It really is.
Well, thank you for all your efforts.
Yeah,
thank you.
Good report. Great. Does anybody else have questions?
I do, John.
Oh, go ahead, Justin.
And sorry, because I'm the host, I can't raise my hand.
Oh, fair enough.
Dana, during kind of the peak season, were we mostly full when it comes to vendors?
Yes. Well, in this modified situation, I had 19 spaces. 19, yeah, 15 on one side and then 4 on the apron. So I had 19 spaces, and during October, I actually was completely full, strangely. Through the summer, like the actual peak season, we were kind of full, but we've got a lot of space that was taken up by the fencing. If the fencing wasn't there, we would have 34 spaces, but the fence totally killed off 15 spaces. So we don't necessarily need more stalls if things are normal. The only thing that vendors do tend to say is that our stalls are pretty small compared to other ones, because they're in these tent cities and they can space out more in the tent, kind of. It's 10 or 12 by 12, whereas ours is 8 by 10. Most of our spaces are 8 by 10, some are even smaller. But so far I don't feel like we've outgrown our space other than the COVID situation. So
Great, thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you again, Dana.
Thank you very much.
We look forward to next year already. So just about 4 months away.
Already?
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so now we are down to item E on our agenda. And we have a public hearing this evening. Just in terms of the topic, the topic for the public hearing is the general code text amendments regarding pet ownership. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm one off. My bad. The topic is on the pet ordinance. So I'd like to open the public hearing. I lost track of my agenda. Sorry, everybody.
Don?
I think we need to approve the agenda first.
Yeah, we don't have the.
Oh,
we haven't approved the
that's why I'm
agenda
on. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm missing E. I was jumping to F. Okay, item E is approval of the agenda.
yet. I so
Is
move.
there- Moved by Cousins. Thank you.
I'll second.
Second by Julie. Thank you both. Any discussion on the agenda? Okay, Ms. Jones, if you would call a vote to approve the agenda.
Yes. Hubbard,
Yes.
Cousins,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Keel.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Item F here is our public hearing on the amendments to the general code of ordinances, section 1038, which is pet ownership. We do have a consideration motion planned after the public hearing. So I'd like to open the public hearing officially at 6:34 to see if there's any public comment on this topic. Justin, help me if I'm missing anybody. You can raise your hand using the raise hand feature under the participants window, or if you're calling in, you can hit *9 on your cell phone to alert us that you'd like to speak this evening. I'm not seeing any public comment at this time. Justin, do you see any?
I see no hands.
Okay, I will close the public hearing then at 6:35, if that's okay, Carol?
Yes.
Okay. And there's a potential motion on page 25 and 26 of the packet, if there's a council member that would like to move such. Jamie, I think I see your hand in your window, right?
Yeah, I'll move to adopt, approve. I'm not quite sure what I should say. I'll move to approve
Okay, move to approve the,
the ordinance.
as shown on 25 and 26.
Yeah, move to approve the amendments to the general code of ordinances, section 1038 for pet ownership.
Okay, thank you for making that motion, Jamie. Is there a second?
Second, Michelle's.
Second by Michelle's. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate that. Any discussion by council?
Yep.
Michelle or Mike, would you like to say a few words about this?
Mike is going to take this one through to the finish line.
Okay, thanks, Michelle.
Sure. So this amendment was recommended by staff after it came to staff's attention that the general code language regarding pet ownership conflicted with the requirements in the zoning ordinance. The general code language states that any resident who owns 4 or more pets has to obtain special land use approval and an annual zoning compliance permit, while the zoning ordinance states that residents who own pets are exempt from that requirement. So the general code amendment would simply remove the language that applies the special land use and the annual permit requirement to residents, and make it so that residents simply don't have to obtain special land use or that zoning compliance permit. A corresponding zoning ordinance amendment would clarify the zoning ordinance language that commercial kennels do have to obtain special land use approval and an annual permit, which are the requirements now. Let's see. So staff did receive an email from Councilmember Michelle's earlier today, suggesting some tweaks to the general code language in the first sentence of section 1038A. The language reads, pet ownership of certain animals expressly owned by residents shall be permitted in residential districts. Council member Michelle's recommended some an alternate, a word other than districts, because if using that term, then it wouldn't necessarily include mixed use districts. So that seems appropriate in staff's opinion. The other recommended change was in the kennel definition in the zoning ordinance, which the last sentence of the kennel definition states residents that own pets as defined herein are not considered kennels. So that was the original wording from the definition. Not the clearest. The intent was just to state that residents are exempt from the requirements that apply to commercial kennels. Council member Michelle's recommended some wordsmithing there. Without further time to review, I don't have any recommendations for alternate language there, or for that related zoning ordinance definition. And so for the sake of being thorough, it may be worth postponing action on both amendments. While relatively minor, they sort of, both amendments do go hand in hand. So with all that said, though, the changes are relatively minor. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Jamie.
Yep. Thanks, Mike. I just had a couple other, I think mostly minor comments. As best as I can understand, I think I'm in agreement with what Zach has drawn attention to, and I would be fine to see clarified language. In A3, I think there's an extra comma after the word providing. I don't think there needs to be a comma in any part of that. Domesticated dogs and household cats as single pets, providing they are in compliance with the ordinance. I think the comma needs to go away. I think in C, the second sentence, just to be parallel with the first, when you say keeping, possession, or harboring undomesticated animals, in the first sentence, you have an of after harboring. So I think the of would need to be after the harboring in that second sentence. And then the other thing I noted, although I've seen this in the past, excuse me, per our charter section 805B, it says that the enacting clause of an ordinance should be the city of Dexter hereby ordains. And currently it just reads the city of Dexter ordains. So I don't do with that what you will, I guess.
Okay.
Jamie, help me where on B and C where you were referencing the word of. Are you on
Yeah,
page
so
20?
sorry,
23?
chapter, so I'm looking at, I guess it's in either spot. You can see it because it's in the memo or it's on the actual, we'll look at the actual ordinance on page 25. C, the first sentence says keeping possession or harboring of, and then you go to the next sentence, it says keeping possession or harboring, but there's no of. So I think, same thing within B, it says keeping possession or harboring of. Do you see it in the second sentence there?
I see, okay, you're saying the second sentence, I got you, okay.
The
now I'm
second
following you.
sentence needs to have an of between harboring and undomesticated.
Okay, fair enough, got it, and C, I got it now, thank you.
Yep.
And, okay, so Mike, you would prefer to review the proposed suggestions and bring this back, is that your preference?
For the sake of being cautious, yes.
Does anybody on council have a problem with that? Just so we know what we're
Paul has his hand up.
approving. It sounds like there's a change in another spot as well.
John, in light of that, I'll make a motion that we bring this back at the next, well, let's do, does it make any difference? How about January meeting instead of the December?
That sounds
meeting?
good, Paul.
Okay, I'll make it to the first meeting in January 2021. And with the suggested changes and reestablish the public hearing.
Okay,
You want to hold another public hearing, Paul?
we probably don't need to, Paul.
Yeah, I probably don't need to, okay. I can live with that. We'll have to
Second,
publish it again.
Michelle.
It's pretty minor changes we're doing, so.
Yeah, okay, so motion by Cousins to postpone action until the first meeting in January. Second, did I hear Zach?
Yep.
Thank you both. Any discussion on the postponement? Ms. Jones, if you'd call the vote to approve the motion to postpone?
Yes. Fisher,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Cousins,
Yes,
Griffin,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Keo.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, motion carries to postpone. We're down to item G, which is non-arranged participation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak this evening on any topic? If so, please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes. I don't see anybody raising their hand or waving at me as I'm scrolling through here.
Not seeing anybody so far either.
Okay. Okay, there were 3 communications in the packet, our upcoming meeting list, a letter from Comcast regarding price changes, and the Dexter Community Garden annual report. Are there any comments from council or staff on the communications? Okay, seeing none. Justin, if you could thank our community garden manager there for her good work again, I would appreciate it.
You're well. Olga's done a great job for us.
Yeah, how many years has she been in that role again? Remind me.
Quite a few since I've been here, so at least 6 years.
Gotcha. Well, we've got a big undertaking to move that, over again for next year. So something different and new, but thank you for her work on that. I'm going to move down to reports. Our first report this evening is from our Public Services Superintendent. Welcome, Dan.
Good evening, everybody. I provided you with a 2-week report. And then I also have a couple updates I'd like to start with. Right at the top of my report, we're running half staff with all the city employees. They're working very, very hard on getting the day-to-day activities done. They're doing a really good job, which leads me into the next topic is leaves. We got really lucky this year. They came down relatively quickly for us, and we didn't get a whole lot of snow. Last week, we ran our final round, hopefully, through the city with our back truck. I think we finished Friday with Garen Farms and Westridge. But there's also opportunities later in the year, the 23rd, and then January 1st or January 6th and the 20th, we do pick up bag leaves. So if there's some additional leaves, we can get them, weather permitting. Any questions on my updates?
Not on the leaves, Dan.
Is there any questions on my written report?
Oh, Jamie has her hand up. Jamie?
Yep. Yeah, can you, I think just two things. One, I was at Community Park with my kids, I think early last week, and they were pretty excited to see some sort of well truck, things roped off, water going places. Are we digging for water? Anyways, but they also were crushed because we call it the Dinosaur Rocker Park. They couldn't go on those rocking things because the caution tape was there. So a question about what was happening there. And then you mentioned taking the roller to the fire hall for storage. If you could just explain what the roller is and what's being stored where.
We'll start with the roller first. When we make asphalt repairs, the DPW does that in the streets. We have a piece of equipment that goes on the front of our Bobcat. It's a little tractor machine that actually grinds up the asphalt. And then we remove the old asphalt with the grinder. And then we'll go back and we'll put asphalt down. And we usually, depending on the depth that we go down, we do 2 or 3 lifts that we have to hit with that roller that compacts the asphalt.
Okay, and that's stored at our current fire station.
Yes, we, with the removal of the barns out at the city garden, we've got the DPW as full as it can get. So we still are able to store things. We always have been able to store things at the bottom of the fire department. That's always been there for us.
Okay.
The
Right.
DPW. As far as the well, we had every year we try to pull a high service pump from the filter plant, which is down at the DPW. That's what pumps the water into the system that creates pressure that actually fills the water tower. So we pull one of them a year, we get it cleaned, we get it inspected. As part of that, we also pull one of our wells. So they're like 200 feet deep, and we pull all the well pipe up, and then we clean them. And then the chemicals they use to clean them, they load them in a big tank, and then they haul them down to a sewer manhole, and they dump that, and that comes down to the wastewater treatment plant. So they pull all the pipe out. They look at the pump itself. On that line, that 200-foot line that they pull apart, there's 20-foot sticks of pipe there. We did have a check valve go bad on that, so we're waiting for that as part of our preventative maintenance to make sure that our wells are capable to keep up with the city of Dexter's demand on water, and we try to do that one a year.
Okay,
And
so
we
there's
go-
a well. There's a well there under community.
Yes, there is actually there's on the community park side, we have 2 over there. We have 1 right next to the basketball court where Ryan drive to the well house. That's what we call it. And then if you go down the hill, there's another well down there.
Okay.
So there's actually 4 there. And then we have another well out by the Dexter High School.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Dan?
Yeah.
I noticed on the DPW report, helped with the water main break on 2nd Street. And there's an item a little later on to approve the contractor that came in to help us out with that. What is the plan for getting the street back? What kind of timing are you looking at, or what are you thinking there?
Well, if I can start from the beginning a little bit, I can explain why that road is still closed. Where that water break had occurred, we have 3 lines there. We have a 6-inch water main, we have an 8-inch, and a 12-inch. The 8 and 12-inch come from the DPW, the filter plant. So what happened usually is we can get in there with a piece of machinery. When we have a water break, it just floods the area around there, and it's really soupy soils. With having them 3 water mains in there, we weren't capable of getting everything we needed out. So we wanted to wait a couple weeks to let the new dirt that was down there kind of dry that up. What we're worried about, and the reason we have it closed, if we don't wait till it dries up a little bit, if we get big trucks driving over that old cast iron that's going to be removed when we do 2nd Street, we could have some additional problems. That's why that road is closed currently and why it's not on other water breaks, because we're able to get a lot of that real wet dirt out of there.
Okay, so you're doing a little bit of a wait and see approach here.
Yes, we are. And we're hoping by the end of this week, next week, we'll have that road back open because we filled it with all brand new material. And then we also put the bubblegum asphalt in there. Obviously, we can't put asphalt back in right now because none of the plants are open.
Gotcha. On a lesser repair topic, what is the plan for putting the Twisted Fish back into the park?
We would like to do that. I actually talked to Kurt about that this morning with leaves being done, and it's just like I said, with this half-staff stuff, we're trying really hard, and we're going to try to get that done this week, Sean. That has been on our list.
No, I know that that's not critical, Dan. I just was wondering, so that's great. Appreciate the update. I didn't know if it was damaged and you were waiting on a part or something like that. So
as far as I know, I haven't put my eyes on it, but I did talk to Kurt, and we were going to try to do it last week, but the leaves and garbage and everything else kind of just, we're trying to make a list and get as much as we can, but we're hoping to get to that this week.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any
Those
other
were my
questions?
2 questions. Other questions from council? Just scrolling through here. I don't see anybody waving their hand at me. Okay, our next report this evening. Thank you, Dan, for you and your team's good work. Our next report this evening is from our Community Development Manager, Michelle. Good evening.
Good evening, Sean. Good evening, council. How are you all doing today?
Thank you.
Boy, I certainly hope that Christmas comes soon. You guys sound like you need some cheering up. Okay, so before I go into any updates, do you all have any questions on my report?
Paul?
On your item C, the new business assistant grant, I heard about it on the radio and read about it as well. Do we know how many participants in the city that use this or that will use this, including
Not yet.
restaurants, live events? I'm talking about probably the Encore, conference and meeting facilities, and gyms. I looked at those since we've crossed out the ice skating rink. That's not a commercial one anyway, but we don't have any idea yet how many will be using this.
No, not yet. But the information, as soon as it came out, excuse me. I'm sorry. As soon as the information got out, I blasted it to the businesses, called different ones that I know have not received anything in the past and could qualify and who might not always get to their emails. All we can say is this is a small grant. It's very narrowly focused. It is a first come, first serve. So my hope is that if our businesses need it, they can get in and they can make their applications, and hopefully they will get it if they haven't gotten one in the past. It's getting tight for people, so every little bit is helping.
Thank you.
Anything else, Paul?
No, I just very concerned. I agree with Michelle 100% that it's tight for business, particularly the restaurants and the bars in those areas there. Other businesses are starting to feel it too. So I was just want to make sure that we did all that we could to make people aware of this. And Michelle sounds like she was ahead of the program. Sounds good. And just to keep us updated on what's happened there, I appreciate it the next meeting. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, Jamie, I see your hands up. You can go next if you would, please.
Yep, under 3C, so ongoing projects not updated since last report. You mentioned the zoning ordinance subcommittee, and you're looking for somebody on council to serve in it. I don't know if you can talk a little bit more about that, and yeah, what sort of commitment.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Our subcommittee does not have a council person. If this is something that you'd be interested in, Jamie, we'd love to have you. We really would like to have somebody on council who can help us keep council up to date. This is going to be a heavy lift, and it will be a lot easier for council, staff, and our consultant who's helping us do this, keep everybody up to date as we move along, than if we try and just do a whole brain dump at the end. So is that something you'd like to participate in?
Yeah, I think I can follow up with you after, tomorrow or something. We can have a chat about what sort of,
Okay.
what that would look like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Be happy to. Okay, so just a couple of things. The joint meeting for the zoning ordinance update. I'm still waiting to hear from a few people on a ZBA, but I don't mean to call you all out, but Sean and Paul, I need to know if you can participate next Monday, 5:30.
Michelle, I'm not even aware that there was a meeting tentatively planned, but yeah, I could probably make that work.
Yeah, I sent a doodle poll out, Sean, and I realized that everybody's getting bombarded with emails. So if it got past, yeah, please, no harm, no foul. If you can attend, that's great. Thank you. Paul, what about you?
Yeah, I can do that. I thought I responded with the doodle poll though. Maybe it
And
was another
maybe it
doodle
just
poll.
didn't
Maybe it
come
was
to
another doodle poll, okay?
There have been multiple ones lately. And
So that's at
because
5:30
5:30,
next
yes.
Monday?
Yes.
Yeah.
Zach, what
And-
about you?
And we're gonna do that to Zoom?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You'll
Yep.
send out the information again, but yeah,
Yeah.
put me down. I can do that. Yep.
Excellent. Confirmation and Zoom link will go out tomorrow.
Thank you.
Zach, are you able to do it?
Yeah, I doodled just
Okay.
now.
Okay. Thank you. All right, thank you. I will send that link out tomorrow. One last thing, just so that it doesn't catch anybody off guard. Under new business update, I did get an inquiry for a medical marijuana caregiver facility. They wanted to know if that's something that they could do in the city. It's not a really easy question to answer. So I am coordinating with the city attorney, and we're scheduled to have another conversation tomorrow. I will keep you updated, okay? And that's it, unless you've got some questions for me.
Michelle, I've got a question, please.
Yes, sir.
On your general update on the Millennium Place,
Yes, sir.
can you remind me where that's at? Are they in front of Planning Commission? Where are they in their process?
So they've gone through planning and city council, and they're supposed to be coming back for a final site plan review. But we cannot get over this hurdle, or we can't come to a resolution regarding the vertical clearance height and the number of emergency, or what's called a fire apparatus access road.
So Michelle, hold on. So wait, all right, so that, let me just clarify your answer. So they have preliminary site plan through Planning
Yes.
Commission and Council, and they're still waiting for their first final site plan in front of Planning Commission.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted to verify. Okay.
Yeah.
So is there, you say you put this here that as a result, the project is in jeopardy. Is there a reason that the recommendations haven't been taken back to Planning Commission to let them talk about them?
They're not recommendations from the fire department. They are requirements for the fire department. So there's not really anything to take back to the Planning Commission. It's not open for discussion. And Chief Smith is here tonight. Perhaps he may be able to help explain it.
No, I'm not looking to get into a discussion on it today. I guess what I'm asking about is if it's stuck in the process, then we need to have a side meeting or something to figure out why it's stuck in the process. But I would think that that you would bring back the the reports to Planning Commission and let them make a determination on whether to accept the recommendations or not.
In communicating with city attorney on it, his recommendation was that if the fire official is requiring something per code, we don't have the authority to overrule that, or Planning Commission doesn't have the authority to overrule it.
Okay. All right, and we agree with the code. I mean, it sounds like that there's a disagreement that the applicant doesn't agree with the code.
Correct. The applicant does not agree with what the code, does not agree with the interpretation of the code.
Okay, so there's an interpretation. It's not black and white.
That would be a fair assessment, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. I'm going to follow up after this meeting with you.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Fisher, I see you have your hand up.
I do. Michelle, what is a caregiver facility?
So there isn't necessarily one defined by the act. The person inquiring about whether it's something he could do, that's his term for it. He's
Okay.
apparently a licensed caregiver, and this would be basically an operation, a facility where he grows the plants that he's allowed to have for each of his patients.
Okay.
So,
Yep. Gotcha.
does that help?
Thank
Okay.
you. Yep.
Cool.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it. That's all I've got today, folks.
Okay, any other council comments? Okay, there is a written report in the packet for the Cap Dart regional team. Zach, anything to add or bring to our attention?
Nope, we've adopted our schedule for this next year, and it's going to continue to be the first Thursdays of the month. Still meeting virtual. City of Chelsea has lent us their Zoom account, and we're going to get some folks from the Washtenaw, I forget what it's called, the Office of Community and Economic Development, at the next meeting to come talk with us about some things they're doing.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you including those reports in the packet. Any questions for Zach? Okay, I think we are down to city manager report. Justin?
Thank you, Sean. Good evening, council. So there are a couple of items that are intended for your January 11th meeting. The Parks and Recreation Commission tomorrow is going to be considering a recommendation of the Parks and Recreation 5-year master plan and recommending that to council. So rather than having that on the 28th, assuming it does get recommended, pushing that to the 11th. The other thing is I've met a couple of times with Paul Evanoff about the Mill Creek Park Slope project, which is improvements to either side of the stairs between the farmer's market and Mill Creek Park. We did put that out to bid once. We only got one bid back and it wasn't favorable. So we did put it back out to bid. Bids are due back on the 18th. And assuming we get some good bids back, we're looking to put that on the January 11th meeting. We are just about complete with the Schiff Harden FOIA. I handed off our documents to Scott today to review. So hopefully that will be it for the year from them. But we do have an item later this evening to discuss that. I was notified on Friday that the Dexter women's field hockey team were state champions in 2019 and 2020. So we're going to be looking to add those to the championship sign. So congrats to the Dreads. We are moving forward with making an offer to an administrative intern, which is exciting to get some fresh blood in here. And Parks and Rec will be talking tomorrow, or at least I'm going to give them the same update that we've had beavers in Mill Creek Park set up shop in the small tributary that feeds into Mill Creek. And I've talked with the DNR and Eagle, and apparently they don't typically permit live capture and relocation of beaver because they tend to create the same problem as we are experiencing with them creating dams in that tributary. And so at this point, I'm not sure what our options are in moving forward to prevent flooding and tree damage in that area. And with that, if anybody has any questions on my report, I'd be happy to answer them.
Looks like there's a question, Jamie.
Yeah, I have a couple comments. Thanks.
Sure.
So on 2E, Paul recommended that you guys get something organized to sort of a timeline for the city facilities discussion. I think that would be great. So thanks for recommending that. The next point, F, is the training session for, where do you mention? No. Yeah.
For Robert's rules.
Right. Yeah. So that also would be good. But I thought that was something else. I had expressed interest in attending the
the MML newly elected officials training.
So I don't know if that's something we formally need to talk about. I need to make a statement. If what more needs to happen, I guess, if something more, I just wanted to put that out there in a meeting formally.
So I did put that that application in today for the 2 members who expressed interest.
Okay. Thanks.
So I mean, if any others are interested, please let me know. The remaining date is, I think it's January 23rd.
Yeah, that's the one I was gonna.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to just interrupt here, but Jamie, I got an email today from them, so you might want to check your email just in case you didn't get that. I didn't get
No, yeah, I did see something, but I didn't read it. I just saw the subject. Thanks. And then the 2 more things. Paper of record, you mentioned that you've been having a hard time getting things printed timely in the Ann Arbor News. I mean, now that Sun Times is back in print, I don't know if we want to be making a switch back or not. I like the Sun Times because everybody's getting it, but I don't know how people feel about that or what would be involved in switching.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up as a topic of discussion as part of our goal setting meeting.
Okay.
I think we are on a good schedule now with them. I think we've kind of worked out the publication kinks, but they are still significantly more expensive than what we were paying when we were with the Sun Times previously.
Okay. So we'll talk about that again. And then the other thing I did see in a couple of places I saw like on Facebook and actually in the Sun Times, advertisements for the Ice Fest that do indicate that there's a start time at 11 a.m. and that there's going to be live demonstrations. And I guess it was my understanding that when you guys had approved that, you didn't want there to be a time or advertisements of things like demonstrations. So I don't know if that was all.
So I have been in contact with the chamber a couple of times and have told them that they need to not be advertising demonstrations.
Okay.
But we also haven't received a park use permit application from them yet, as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
And so that's something that council would still need to approve prior to their holding that.
Gotcha.
Or setting those sculptures up in the park and using that space.
Okay. Thank you.
It looked like Michelle, did you have an update on that?
I think just before I left this evening, I think Dom from the chamber actually brought it in or was talking about it with Brenda. So we may just need to check with her in the morning.
Thank you, Jamie. All set?
Yep. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Looks like
Other council member questions for Justin?
Paul here.
Go
Justin,
ahead, Paul.
I don't know if I've ever gotten it or you can tell us what was the bid for the work on, behind the farmer's market there in the Mill Creek Park? And what was the hesitancy to accept it? How much over what did we think it was?
So the engineer's estimate was about $17,000,
Okay.
and the bid that came in was 60,000.
Oh my.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So just a little bit of a gap there.
And the one bid we got was from who?
I was from Anglin Civil. So I think it's a civil engineering firm bidding on a landscaping firm's job, basically.
Gotcha. So you may not be able to answer this question. Is there any potential or possibility that service clubs could do part of the work and the rest of it be done by the professionals or be guided by the professionals? I'm thinking that maybe the Rotary and the Lions Club, since we've done a couple of joint things together, may be able to do some stuff, but maybe not everything.
So I actually talked about that with Paul Evanoff, and I think at some point there is a potential to do like a Mill Creek Park workday and make that the focus of it. The challenge is with the tree removal portion of it. There's quite a bit of clearing that needs to take place there, and that really should be done by a professional removal firm. With that being said, the planting portion, so once everything is clear, the planting and maintenance portion could be done by public groups as part of a workday or something like that. So I think this is phase one of the project, being on either side of the stairs. There are plans that Smith Group put together for a phase two, which is basically from the outer limits of the current project over to the fire station.
I remember that. Okay, thank you. Well, yeah, if there's a potential of having that divided up, I guess, you don't trust an 82-year-old guy with a chainsaw. So probably that's a smart move. But I think that there could be an effort there with others in the both of those clubs that could jointly do something there. We've worked a couple of different things together recently. So if Paul would feel that could be possibly done, and that thing could be modified, we kind of work for free. So keep that in mind. Okay.
Sure.
Or Eagle Scouts with their tree felling badges.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, now that your elbow is fixed, I assume you can wield a chainsaw in both hands.
No, I went to the doctor today and he said, be careful. So he did give me clearance to start pitching spring training for the Tigers, though left-handed. So I'm ready to go there. So.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Okay. Thank you for those questions, Justin. Thanks for the information there.
Welcome.
Other questions for Justin? Okay, seeing none, no more at this point. I'll bounce down to my report. Certainly want to start by wishing everybody a happy holidays, Merry Christmas. 'Tis the season for finding some relaxing times, for reflecting, for being around family as best you can. Just want to wish everyone a safe and happy holiday season. Continue to make good, smart judgments about who you're with and how you do it. But it is a special time of year, and I hope each one of you enjoy it. I have one appointment recommendation on the consent agenda that follows my report, and just wanted to point it out. I'm re-recommending Rob Toth for reappointment to the Economic Development Corporation. For those of you that aren't familiar with the EDC, those terms are pretty lengthy. They're 6-year terms, but obviously everything's a voluntary position. That corporation or commission meets just once a year typically, unless there's a nonprofit or an industrial project that looks to get some funding for some type of development. So it's a small use commission, but Rob has been a businessman and a member of our community for a while and has been a real good member. So I'm re-recommending his appointment. I was also notified by Marnie Schmidt, and Pete Patsos that they would not be continuing on their various committee appointments. Marnie's been a planning commissioner for quite some time, and her December meeting was her last meeting. Justin, if you can help me get a certificate of appreciation together for her, I'd sure appreciate it, as well as for Pete Patsos. We are going to be advertising those positions until I can find somebody to bring back to you. So I'll keep working there. I do have a couple ideas on people that I'm reaching out to as well. So anyway, more to follow on the appointment recommendations, but there is one in the packet as part of the consent agenda. So if anybody has any questions about that, I'd be happy to take that as part of my report. The city manager search process continues. As council will recall, we've been advertising the position since early November, and December 18th, which is this coming Friday, is the date by which we had advertised we would do an initial review or initial round of application review. Marie Sherry, our finance director, has been leading the process of receiving those. And I talked to Marie at the end of last week, and she's going to do an initial round of just pre-screening. Not that anybody can't look back at what those applicants are, but she's told me that there are some people that have applied for the position that clearly are not, I would say, qualified necessarily, as I think the word she used, but they just submitted resumes because there's an open job. So I'll have her do that, and then get the remaining ones ready for review. Starting tomorrow or this week, I'm going to start reaching out to each of you to find out your willingness or interest in serving on a city manager search committee. I think we can put together 3 of us and go through the applications and come up with some recommendations on people that we want to interview. As I talk to you, I'd ask that you each think about what the purpose of such a committee might be and how it could be handled. There's no reason why the applications can't be reviewed by anybody that really wants to see them. But obviously we're going to respect the confidentiality of those that have submitted at this early point in the process until we get to a formal public interview. But I think we want to dig into that in January. So I just wanted to give everybody a heads up on the fact that I'll be reaching out to you over the next 10 days or so leading up to the holidays. I want to thank Aaron McKillen and Kurt Augustine. I know there were others involved, but those two were very instrumental in coming up with a process that allowed us to distribute the luminary kits. I'd like to thank all the people, there's too many to name, that volunteered as street captains to collect the kits or to collect the materials for the kits, put the kits together, and then walk them up and down the street that they live on to pass those out. Those are always a special thing on Christmas Eve. And anyway, Aaron and Kurt get high marks for their creativity in putting this together. So just wanted to mention that to everyone. One of the doodle polls that everybody, I believe, has seen, or most of you have seen, based upon Justin's report to me, is the goal setting meeting. I threw out there 2 Saturday mornings, the 9th and the 16th. It sounds like most people are able to attend both at this point. I'll be getting with Justin later this week to finalize a date and getting that out to everybody so that can be on your calendar. My goal was to, again, move this up, especially with 2 new council members. I want to make sure that we're taking the time as early as we can after the holidays to figure out what we want to try to accomplish together, what's important to each other, and to share in those activities. Obviously, we typically have 2 of those meetings, so I don't pretend to think that we can get through it all in one meeting, but I think the sooner we start talking about some stuff, the better. Does anybody have any questions for me? Why?
I was just wondering about the committee openings. We have an opening on ACH now because I'm on here too. So I just don't want to let that fall through the cracks when we're trying to find new people for the open positions. That's all.
Okay, thank you for the reminder on that. I will make sure if I speak to others to remember that committee as well. Wow, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions for me?
Just kind of that we do, while we do maintain a running list of openings, and Sean and I communicate on what those are and whether or not we need to post for them.
Okay.
Thanks, Justin. Donna, I see you have your hand up.
I'm ready to move the consent agenda.
Okay, great, please do.
I move we approve the 3 items listed on the consent agenda. Bills and payroll in the amount of $481,012.82. The reappointment of Rob Toth to the Economic Development Corporation, and the Second Street water main break repair from water tap to be approved not to exceed $7,300.
Okay, thank you. Motion by Fisher. Is there a second? Speak up if I'm not seeing you.
I'll second, Jamie.
Jamie, second. Thank you. So motion by Fisher, second by Jamie Griffin. Okay. Ms. Jones, are you still with us?
Yes.
If you could please call the vote, I would appreciate it on the consent agenda.
Okay. Griffin,
Yes.
Michelle,
Abstain.
Fisher,
Yes.
Hubbard,
I said yes. Did we not hear me?
Yep, thanks.
No.
Wow. Okay, we heard it now.
Okay.
Knight,
Yes.
Cousins,
Yes.
Keo.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Motion carries on those items. We have no old business or unfinished business, as I think we're moving towards. So we'll move down to new business item L1, which is consideration of the amendment to council rules. And if we could get a motion first, and then we can discuss as needed, please.
A motion, Jamie, to approve the amendment to council rules.
Okay, motion by Griffin. Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second. Knight.
Second by Julie. Thank you. Thank you both. Okay, Justin, do you want to lead us through what you did here?
Sure. So included in your packet are a red line version and a clean version of the draft rules. I did make some edits based on conversation at the last meeting. I know that Zach had sent over some additional comments this afternoon. But the edits include a piece to Rule 2.1 to insert something to the effect of, when possible, items being proposed for the first time should go on as discussion items. Updating old business to unfinished business. But Zach pointed out that there was another place where if council does want to move forward with making that change from old to unfinished, there are other places that it will need to be updated in the rules. And then incorporating Councilmember Griffin's comment or red lines from the last meeting. And then deleting reference to the Farmers Market and Community Garden Oversight Committee, which I had missed on first read. And then adding Rule 12. This was, I think, something that Zach had brought up at the last meeting, where we create a rule to permit a maker and a second of a motion to be able to vote against their motion.
Okay, thank you, Justin, for taking us through that.
Sure.
Council comments or questions? Anybody waving their hand? I'm flipping through here.
Zach has his
Zach?
hand up.
Zach?
Yep. I'll jump in. As written, Rule 2.1, the sentence, when such items are submitted for the first time and when possible, they shall be included on the agenda as discussion items. I don't support that. I believe it binds us unnecessarily and extends process and trains us to not take action. If something requires expenditure of money, we already have a process that we can delay it the first time relatively simply and clear in Rule 8. And for larger item, for any item, we always have the option to postpone it. So I'm not in favor of that there. One thing that I would recommend as we're looking on our conflict of interest ordinance that we've got now is after we approve the agenda. So I'm looking on 2.3 on page 82. After the approval of the agenda and before public hearings, add an item conflict of interest review. So that would be a spot for any member of council who has any potential conflict of interest on any item that's just been adopted for the agenda to say, hey guys, I've got this. So you guys would know, for example, that I'm not going to vote on the consent agenda because my employer, one of my employers, is getting paid from that. Let's see. Oh, there's one other one that I forgot to include in there in my email. Rule 5 on page 85. We ought to include some language in there. So that's the voting. It says all council members shall vote on all matters before the council unless a council member has a financial interest. We should tie bar that in with our conflict of interest ordinance and some reference to there that says has a financial interest or other conflict of interest is defined in our ordinance. And that's what I've got. I'm going to sit back for a bit of discussion, but I can't support it with the Rule 2.1 as it's written. But if everyone else is happy with it, I won't make an amendment to change that. I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Zach, for your good reading and proposed changes there. Jamie?
Yep, I guess I'll just take this time to respond to what Zach brought up. I think I would be fine with all of the changes that he mentioned, and I would add specifically having been a member of the public attending lots of meetings and having expressed concerns about conflicts of interest, I think it would have been helpful, I guess, if there had been that sort of regular disclosure as part of the agenda. I don't know if that's something that's typical or not, but it might also address some questions I had about whether or not there's something that's permanently on file, always written, or when it's stated. I guess I could see the benefit. I don't know that I see a drawback of adding that type of item to the agenda. So I would be fine with what Zach has proposed.
Okay, thank you. Are there other hands I'm missing? Or everybody's just, oh, Julie, go ahead there.
I agree with Zach about the discussion comment. I think if things are on the agenda, they should be on there for action, not for discussion to be put on the future agendas. So I think we need to have it on for action, particularly if it's one that involves a fee.
Okay.
Paul has his hand up here.
Okay, thanks, Paul. I'm clicking
I
over.
I would agree with Julie and Zach. I think we're here to do business and not delay it. I know what Sean's talking about from his last comments from the last meeting, but think those were some extraordinary circumstances there that that I'll just let go with that. I will also feel that the conduct of discussion, debate with the items of the council norms, I don't agree. I agree with the one state council change with we to this council members that Jamie, I think, put in. But I don't like the word that we've taken out the word must and put in abide. It seems to me that it softens the concept of that statement. I guess it reminds me of what if I got a comment from my mother about doing something, or a comment from my dad, that I knew the emphasis differently between one and the other. My dad was one who would tell me that if I didn't agree, I would he'd get on my roof and kick some shingles off, or he'd cloud up and rain all over me. So I got a stronger statement from him than I did from my mother. Would you do this? Would you not do this? And I think just abide by it doesn't say what it really should say, and that they must abide by the decision of the council once a decision has been made. So I would make a motion if we're going to do this. I don't know how we're going to do this. Jack threw out some ideas, but motion that we go back to what it says in the first place that we had in our council rules, and that the members must abide by the decision of council once a decision has been made. Somebody can explain to me how we're going to deal with all of these items. I'll be glad to follow the rules as it relates to those.
Okay. Yeah, let's just get through and see what others have to say. Jamie, I see you have your hand back up. Before I call on you, Donna or anything to add before I call on Jamie again?
If there's this much to change in them, maybe they should be moved over to goal setting. Just wait a couple of weeks and we could have a discussion at that time. I don't know. I'm not sure that we can define these words without, further conversations.
I'm okay with that if other members are willing to do that. I don't know that there's anything that couldn't wait for that. If I think there's been some good suggestions here, though, that Justin, hopefully you've helped take some notes on, and we can capture it. I don't want to lose those.
Yeah, and to get them worded properly. Yeah, we might
Yeah.
want to talk about that.
I'm certainly
I
okay
can
with
live
that.
I can live with that, Sean. Donna, that's a good suggestion, and you'd have more discussion and try to do this all by just a motion and back and forth. We can maybe come to a conclusion so that we can all agree on the same page. So I could agree with that.
Okay, Donna, thanks. Anything else?
No, not for me.
Okay. Anything to add before I call on Jamie again?
No, I mean, I guess no, not really. No, thanks.
Okay. Jamie, thank you for waiting patiently.
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to clarify. I think I'm the one who probably proposed a strikeout of the word must, and I was only doing it to maintain the grammatical consistency of the way that bulleted list reads council member shall : and to read council member shall must abide. Just my English editing background said that doesn't work. So I guess an alternative is to leave it council members : and you could put shall in all the beginning of the other bullets and put must in the beginning of the other one, or you could shall. Anyways, that's the only reason it was there. That was why I did it. And I would be fine waiting to look at this at another time.
Okay. Well, I'm sure we can figure out how to get that in there appropriately and consistently. Can we then have a motion to postpone until we discuss at council rules or at council goal setting?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so moved by Fisher. Who's the second?
Michelle's.
Thanks, Zach. Okay, any discussion on the postponement? Jamie, your hand's still up, but I'm assuming that that's
Sorry,
down.
yep,
Great.
yep, that's
Nope,
fine.
you're good. You're good. Maybe it's just my screen catching up. Okay, Ms. Jones, if you could call the vote to postpone until council discusses the council rules or council goal setting.
Yes, Knight,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Michelle's,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Cousins,
Yes.
Keo.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. New business item L2 is discussion of merging of the Parks and Recreation Commission and our tree board. Justin, you want to lead us off since this is a discussion item?
Sure.
Please.
So we had discussed at the organizational matters meeting, potentially merging the Parks and Recreation Commission and the tree board. Since the Parks and Recreation Commission is an active committee that meets every month, and the tree board, I think has only met twice in the last year and 3 times the year before that. And a lot of the duties and responsibilities of the tree board have become administrative. We think it's still important to have a committee responsible for kind of oversight of street trees and trees on city property, but that it may be more appropriate to have a more active committee responding to issues and concerns on a more consistent basis. So both the Parks and Recreation Commission and the tree board were created by city ordinance. And so I provided in your packets redlined versions of each of those ordinances that, when taken together, could allow for the Parks and Recreation Commission to be transitioned into taking over the tree board responsibilities. There are a couple of questions if we do want to move forward with this. One being the name of the committee or commission. And the second is there are still members of the tree board, and how we want to work with them as we go forward in creating this new or transitioned committee. And whether or not, there are options. We could either move forward with the 7 members of Parks and Rec and just adding on the tree board responsibilities, or we could do something where we up the number of members on the Parks and Recreation Commission temporarily until members drop off, and then we drop back down to 7 over time, or something else that I haven't thought of. And so I wanted to throw that out for city council consideration.
That's a good intro, Justin. I appreciate it. Ms. Fisher, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, you partially have answered it, my question, but how do the 2 boards respectively, how do they feel about this? Because I'm suspecting that the tree board may be the only group that would object. Is that the case?
You want me to take that,
Yeah,
Justin?
Michelle has had communication directly with each of the 2 non-Parks and Recreation Commission tree board representatives.
Okay.
And so I think she's in a good position to answer that question.
Thanks, Justin. It's a good question, Donna. So the 2 remaining people on that commission or on that board, Paul Schubert, thought it was an excellent idea and indicated he would like to be able to stay on and participate on Parks and Rec if that was an option. The other commissioner is Sandy Hansen, and I think Sandy would love to do it, but Sandy is no longer able to.
So I don't have any problem with how council wants to go on this. If there's an interested member, I think allowing the commission to be slightly larger than the 7 members is a good idea. There will be some natural attrition over time to get back to the 7. I don't have any problem with that if that makes sense to others. I think it's a pretty good suggestion. I don't know what we need to do verbiage wise to make that happen, but I don't mind the direction. I'd rather do that than exclude someone.
Sure. And I can work with Scott Munzel on drafting that language and incorporating that into the parks ordinance language, to bump it up temporarily and then over time drop it back down.
Ms. Fisher?
Yeah, when the tree board was formed, there were people that were on that board that seemed to have, especially Sandy, had expertise about varieties of trees. And we'll need to do something at the parks level to encourage people to get that bank of knowledge established. If you're going to merge, I think that that's something that will need attention.
Sure. And one of the active, one of the more active tree board members is Joanne Wagner, and she's currently a Parks and Recreation Commission
good.
appointee to the tree
Okay,
board.
good. I just remember Cindy Haynes having a strong feeling about some of those varieties of trees, and I thought that was good that she challenged, so we would think it through. So that's what was behind my question.
Sure.
Thank you.
Both she and Sandy had a deep well of knowledge, Donna, you're right. And even though we didn't do the seedling giveaway this year, my hope is that we're going to be able to do it next year. And even though Cindy Haynes is no longer on our board, she has participated every year since leaving to help volunteer. I can't say enough about her and Sandy and the others who have participated on the board. They're very committed.
Zach, I see your hand.
Yep. So as one of the nerdy folks who's actually read Alexis de Tocqueville's Democracy in America, I tend to favor more citizen committees and groups because it gives people that ownership of the part of their committee. So my preference would be to keep the tree board and figure out how to keep it reinvigorated, but I'm not going to lose any sleep if it goes away. A couple of thoughts that I would have is we'd have to be very aware to make sure that a combined committee doesn't just focus on trees in the parks, because that's a natural type thing, to make sure that they understand that their charge is all the trees throughout all the city. And so that's my couple of cents worth.
Gotcha. Good comments.
I think Michelle may have had a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm still clicking over. Go ahead, Michelle.
So Zach brings up a really good point. Personally, Zach, I think that wrapping the tree board in with the Park and Rec Commission will help keep it on track better. It was a board that really only met the first part of the year. And it would have been nice to be able to meet more. But that's on me that we haven't been able to, and not so much on the board members. In regards to the concentration on the different, on what they could concentrate on, one of the things that I'll follow up with Justin on, so that when this comes back to you, is a clear understanding of what may have to be changed in the tree ordinance in order to ensure that, because right now the tree board can only spend the allocation that they receive every year from council on street trees. There's no real wiggle room there. We can get additional monies from city council specifically to help with parks, but we can't just automatically do it without council's blessing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So how do we want to proceed then? Justin, how do you recommend?
So if you're comfortable, I'll come back with more fully mocked up red line versions of the ordinances to set a public hearing, or to have an item to set a public hearing at the January 11th meeting.
Okay.
The only question that I don't know we kind of discussed was, do we want it to be the Parks, Trees, and Recreation Commission, or do we want it to be the Parks and Recreation Commission and have an understanding that that includes trees as a responsibility?
Can we ask the Parks and Recreation
Mhm.
folks to come up with a name?
We sure can. They have a meeting tomorrow.
Well, there we go.
Nice idea. Okay. Is it okay if we move on to L3? L3 is consideration of a social district boundary update.
Okay, council.
Hold on, wait, let's get a motion first.
I move to update, revise the boundaries of the social district and commons area to include all eligible licensees and create specified consumption areas as described in this staff report.
Okay, thank you, Zach. So motion by Michelle's. Is there a second?
I'll
Or
second.
cus- Donna,
Okay, I think I heard Donna first, so we'll
Yep.
call it Fisher. Okay, so we have motion by Michelle, second by Fisher. Okay, Michelle, please provide an update for us.
Okay. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Justin, can we share the screen with the map, please? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, let me just bring it up.
Okay, while he's doing that, so as I explained, we did go ahead and apply for designation or apply to the Liquor Control Commission to designate the social district for Dexter, and it was based on your approval. I believe it was your, I want to say your October 26th meeting. The days go by very quickly now. Other than just some cleanup of maps, making them more legible. The one thing that was different from what I had been told originally from Liquor Control Commission was that two of our businesses would not be able to participate because they weren't contiguous to the commons area. And the commons area being that place between Beer Grotto and Aubrey's. I pushed the envelope a lot with liquor control, trying to get some clarity on it, because when I pulled up other communities, social district maps like Marshall, excuse me, I noticed that they did not have contiguous boundaries, but they had a list of different businesses. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Liquor Control Commission would not, they wouldn't provide any clarification or clarity for me. And so what I've sort of figured out, it's one of the only things I've been able to, tangible reason to come up with is that Marshall must have the same common area boundaries and social district boundaries, but they've established what they're calling consumption areas to direct people to those areas to consume their beverages instead of just walking the sidewalks with open containers. I've tried to reach out to Marshall. I've left a number of messages, haven't heard back from them. Not surprising, folks are all still working from home. And this is, theirs is done by a separate group, sort of like a chamber or economic development organization. So I did speak with the DDA director of Petoskey, and she and I agree that it is most likely common area boundaries and social district boundaries are the same. And it's being, people are being sort of guided to special areas. That doesn't mean that we have the authority to say you cannot drink on the street. If we adopt it this way, people could consume a beverage while walking on the sidewalk. They cannot consume it while crossing the street. Because our roads are not closed, That's a state law, and they cannot do that. But the the boundary, as I've pared it down, so it encompasses strictly the roadways and sidewalks from Main Street down to Errata Gales, is the only way to resolve the geographical challenge that we have. Our businesses are all spread out. They're not all clumped together on Main Street. So it makes it more challenging. But if we're going to help our businesses, this is the only way that we will be able to get a designation from Liquor Control Commission. So you have two things that you have to weigh tonight. That is having the same common area and social district boundaries, and two, setting specific signage, mapping, et cetera, that identifies two consumption areas. One in the place that we've already talked about, the consumption area being between Beer Grotto and Aubrey's, but the second one would be the Clock Tower Plaza. And that's so that people coming out of the pub aren't just standing on the sidewalk in front of that business. We can sort of congregate them more over toward the clock tower. One of the things that you could do also, and it's something I can talk with the DDA about, to create more ambiance, is maybe some benches. Again, everything socially distanced, but also potentially maybe even a portable fire pit, working with the fire department to make sure that everything it meets their standards. I was in downtown Northville this past Friday. They've got a whole different way of doing it, but they have different stations where they have benches and fire pits. And it really does create a very nice environment for people to sit in a socially distanced fashion, consume their beverages, be social, be safe, but then not walking on sidewalks consuming the beverages. So that's the other thing to consider. The third thing would be if there's still a level of discomfort, you could modify your hours. Right now you've got 6 days a week, I believe it is, 5 days a week, Monday through Thursday, I believe it is, noon to 11 and or noon to 10. And then on the weekday or weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I believe your hours were noon to 11. It's a 1 hour time difference between the two, if I remember right. You may want to just take it down to maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 11 o'clock in the evening, 7 days a week, and just leave it at that. So there, you have a variety of options for considering this. And if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you.
Michelle, I'll throw out the first question here.
Mhm.
I'm staring at the map a little bit. Does it make any sense in this to encourage them to only cross where there's a signal, as opposed to crossing the street at the unsignalized crosswalks at either end?
We could narrow it down farther if you wanted. I suspect that people will still cross.
Well, okay.
That
may be, but I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is if there's any possibility of people doing this and doing this frequently and getting used to it, it just seems like it's safer to cross at the traffic signal.
I agree with you.
I mean, especially since there's two of them, and they could do it on either side if they needed to do it. You know what I mean?
Right. The map could be, we could take the social district common area boundary so that it is not on the not on the south side of Main Street, but only encompasses the north side, except where it, no, that won't work there. It can be modified so that crossing only happens at Main Street. It'll look odd, but it would still function.
Just a thought, that just seems, instead of the other thing I think it does, Michelle, is, you know, I mean, and we're talking about a concept where technically there can be, you know, having open alcohol on the street, it makes it a little narrower of a spot
It does,
as
but
opposed
then
to stretching it out.
the other thing though, in creating it this way, each business that's that's within that, those areas where those social district boundaries touch, if that business is okay with somebody bringing in an open container, then you are also potentially capturing some shoppers. If a business doesn't want to allow someone, they have that right. And legally, as long as that business is not dispensing alcohol, they can allow somebody to come in off the street with it. And it might just help some of those businesses through the holidays and after.
Okay, I assume that, the other reason I mentioned that is because it you know, as drawn now, it connects very close to the tip of Monument Park. And we're not,
We're trying to
I don't
keep
want to
that.
encourage people to be there. So we need to make sure that if it's going to be there, that we sign it appropriately, that they have to move on.
Yes, definitely. It would be very clearly signed for them.
Jamie, sorry for keeping you waiting.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. So my understanding, I went through, I guess I have two statements. One will be a longer one. I'll save it for later. This is sort of a clarifying one just based on how these maps are drawn. I went through and looked at a lot of, I think all of the ones that Michelle mentioned and even the ones that weren't mentioned. Some state entity has a list of all the communities that have implemented social districts so far, so I was able to go through those. Most of the maps that I saw had a social district that was bigger than the commons area, where the commons area is actually just the map of the roads that people are allowed to walk on, or the streets and the sidewalks, I guess. So I don't know what's easier. You can either do a screen share, or I can show you. I printed this out. This is Kalamazoo's, and what's in yellow is their social district boundary. What is in green is the commons area. So those are all the streets where they're permitting people to walk up and down, and the red dots are the participating businesses. So I can imagine ours being drawn something similar, where you know, the actual social district boundary is something, you know, more encompassing, and then you would define the streets where you want to permit this happening within that, just making sure that, you know, all the businesses are alongside of that. So I don't know if, Michelle, if this is what you were saying, you weren't sure about, like that the commons area had to be the same as a social district, because this is one example, and I know I see many others where they did not have to be the same thing.
Right, no.
This affords us any advantages to move to something like this or not?
So that's what we had the first time, was a social district larger than the commons area.
Right.
But if we do not expand our commons area to be either in the configuration it is, or both the social district boundaries and the common area boundaries larger, we can't get all of our businesses to be contiguous to the commons area.
So my understanding that last time was the commons area was just this, you know, the parking lot between Aubrey's and Beer Grotto.
Correct.
But now what our understanding is that the commons area actually isn't what you might think of as a commons area. What, you know, our version of a consumption area is more of what the commons area had been. That the commons area is actually this path of sidewalks connecting the businesses. I mean, that's what is called a commons area, right?
So the commons area could have, if you can have a commons area like what we had originally envisioned. And some communities have done it that way. but all their businesses were contiguous to it. The only way to provide a commons area that is contiguous to all of our businesses is to utilize the opportunity cost is that it also means we have to use sidewalks. The reason I didn't draw the boundaries of the commons area to be as large as what the social district was based on our last map is that would encompass more sidewalks for people to have open alcohol on. And I didn't think that that was something that was palatable for council. And so as trying to find that sweet spot where we're helping the businesses, but minimizing risk or the discomfort level, if you will, this is the map that I came up with. And the consumption areas is think of it as a Jell-O mold, trying to structure the Jell-O even more than just the map boundaries are.
So the legislation, and maybe this isn't a point that's worth clarifying, the legislation specifically cites the holder of the social district permit only serves alcoholic liquor to be consumed in the commons area. So you could have the social district being drawn broader, and you could leave your commons area as you have them drawn or change them so they only go through the lighted intersections if that's what people want to do.
Right.
And even though the social district boundary is bigger, the consumption area is, the legal consumption area is still that map of sidewalks you've called a commons area.
Right. Right. We could make it so that the social district is larger. There's no real point for us here, though.
Okay, I guess just so people understand the distinction between the two, that they don't have to be one and the same.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I don't know how everybody else feels. We're trying to implement a tool, or this district, if you will, that would allow some amount of alcohol sales and the ability to drink it in an area that's other than inside the building, which is what's prohibited right now. But so on one hand we're weighing the importance of that to help the businesses survive, and on the other hand the question is, right now you're not allowed to carry alcohol around the streets of Dexter or across the, certainly across the street. So the idea behind the consumption areas was to ask that people participate in a designated area, so to speak, if they're going to do it, because I still think the streets should, I don't think we should have them roaming any further than they need to accomplish that. I think that carrying open alcohol is something that we should be cautious about approving. I don't know how everybody else feels. And trust me, I'm a guy that likes to have a beer and walk around.
Anywhere, right? Yeah, I know you. Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm not, but I think I don't need to be walking down Jeffords if there's nothing over on Jeffords, and I don't need to be walking in the park, or it doesn't need to be easy. I think we need to make people think about where they are and respectful of the fact that it is a downtown and there might be other people with, kids and strollers and other things moving in and about the community. So that's just my take on it. And I'm not suggesting, Jamie, that you were suggesting that it just should be a free for all either. I'm just saying that I think that's where the benefit of the limited overlap, at least to me, that's the benefit.
I do have more thoughts on it.
Okay.
It takes me a few minutes to read. I can do that now. I can wait till other people speak whenever is a good time.
No, floor is yours. Your hand's up. Please keep going. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, thanks for, so I did, I'm gonna close this down so I can see what I want to read here. Over the weekend, I did spend some time researching other existing social districts online, and I took a look at the existing outdoor service areas here in Dexter. Was out on a run, actually ran into Mayor Keough, and then snapped some photos of the businesses and the setups, and I took care to sort of count what was currently out there. So as of, this was yesterday morning, Aubrey's had 44 chairs out that I counted. Erratic Ales had 36. The Beer Grotto had 27 and the pub had 15 chairs out. And the proposed seating, and they've proposed seating an additional 16 people in a new tent. So that would bring their total to 31. And this equates to seating for a total of 138 people with an average of 34 or so people per establishment. I was in contact with Michelle earlier this morning. She was very helpful, provided some additional information. And she had indicated that the previous parklets had seated approximately 120 people across a different set of 4 establishments, which is approximately 30 seats per establishment. Those establishments were the Beer Grotto, the Dexter Pub, the bakery and Riverview Cafe. Now, those latter 2 are not eligible for the social district license because they don't serve alcohol. 2 of the proposed social district licensees, Aubrey's and Erratic Ales, did not avail themselves of the parklets when they were available, which to me suggests that such additional assistance was not needed. When social districts were first proposed, some of this predates my time officially on council, it was thought that outdoor service area permits did not extend into the winter, but we now know that those are annual permits. And the only stated reason for discontinuing the parklets was a concern about snow removal along Main Street. And although the proposed consumption areas are not along a major corridor, snow removal concerns are still an issue there, as we've talked about in past meetings. And so on that note, the term consumption area does not appear in the official legislation enacting these social districts. And so as we are talking about now, consumption of alcohol is permitted in all common areas, meaning those public sidewalks as drawn, unless it's otherwise restricted by law. Like Michelle said, you can't drink actually in the street, but you could in any of these sidewalk areas. So as I said during the last meeting, I think this proposed social district is a convoluted solution. It's clear that it now has the likely unintended consequence of turning downtown sidewalks into public drinking areas. Further, per the legislation, although a public hearing would be required to revoke the designation of the social district, no such public hearing is required to establish it. I personally, as Mayor Keough has indicated, this is, a change that we need to be intentional about. And I would really like to know what the public thinks about doing this. When I looked at how other communities are talking about this, how the media is writing about this, I don't know if it was the supervisor or mayor of some community said that they were really excited to be doing this, that they wanted to create a permanent street festival atmosphere. Another article was titled "Drinking in the Street, Social Districts Come to Whatever Municipality." What have I heard from the public? A little bit. One resident did reach out to me expressing a concern that with this policy, we are creating winners and losers. And I agree. I wasn't part of the parklet development or implementation, so I can't be sure that that solution didn't also leave out some businesses. But it is clear that social districts benefit downtown restaurants only, not the retail establishments. And of those restaurants, only those that serve alcohol. And furthermore, likely only those restaurants closest to the proposed consumption areas. Apparently, the Dexter Pub found the proposed solution so inadequate that it has taken it upon itself to set up its own tent before even receiving approval to do so. What else have I heard from the public? A recent article in the local paper boasted that it is community members, not local governments, that are helping keep local businesses afloat. Residents are choosing to shop local, as Julie mentioned earlier on, or support their favorite businesses in some other way. I just saw a post online that a loyal patron of Aubrey's set up a GoFundMe account for the employees of Aubrey's. And in just 4 days, only 6 generous donors have raised $495 of its $2,000 goal. So it's clear that we have a very generous community. As a council, we have a fiduciary duty to all residents, not just downtown business owners and not just those who serve alcohol. I suspect that many people in the community are struggling financially, and yet, even though the city did not increase the monthly lease for Hotel Hickman, citing concerns about the economic impact of the pandemic, it did reassess all homes throughout the city, effectively increasing property taxes for all residents. As a council, we're charged with allocating limited resources. Saying yes to this unbudgeted expense is saying no to something else. If our actions artificially choose winners and losers, I'd rather let the natural consequences prevail. Based on my review of the existing outdoor service areas, a quote, do nothing approach is already reasonably equitable. Each establishment has approximately 30 seats with the exception of Aubrey's, who has 50% more just by luck of the draw, having a larger seating area as it is. But if, as I suspect, you are intent on taking some action, I propose we consider doing away with the proposed social district and its unintended consequences in favor of a more limited solution of relocating the Beer Grotto's parklet to the proposed consumption area number 1 and negotiating some sort of lease with them for the use of those public parking spaces. Erratic Ales and the Dexter Pub have already financed their own tents. The Beer Grotto could do the same. Other businesses, alcohol serving or otherwise, would be welcome to approach council and staff with their own creative solutions for the use and lease of adjacent parking lots or other public spaces if they so choose. I think that this is a more limited solution that appears to better meet the actual need, and it is no more inequitable than the proposal on the table. Thanks.
Thanks, Jamie.
Yep.
Other council questions or comments?
That was, this is Paul. That was
Oh,
a
I'm
lot.
sorry, Paul. I just clicked away from you. I didn't see your hand. It was over on Zach. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Zach wants to go first. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just scratching my head. Sorry.
All right. I have a lot to digest there, Jane, without
Sorry.
in front of me. But just in a cursory view, I guess we're trying to solve a problem for businesses that have alcohol under this proposal, in my opinion. Okay, and I realize that doesn't affect every business. We can't solve all of them. I look out at Cella's, and it doesn't help them at all out there, and they serve alcohol. It's a tough decision to make. I guess I don't know how many people would be upset if people were walking on the streets with alcohol. It's a little different in the winter than it is in the summer, and I guess that's just a cursory view on my opinion. I just don't think it's the same feeling that you would have. So I don't know how we're going to solve those problems with everybody and make some people happy and some people unhappy because of what we're trying to do here. I guess I need some more time to digest what Jamie was saying and trying to figure it out. But I know we're in a time frame right now. I just think that the businesses that serve alcohol are slightly different. And there was one that, the one that was my former resident, they didn't even want to participate. For some reason, I've heard they've closed up. I don't even know that.
The Fillmore, Paul?
Yeah, Fillmore.
They've just closed for the season.
Yeah, for this season, whatever that means. Okay.
They'll open back up in the spring.
Whenever spring is, right, I know. Okay. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. And I understand the reasons for that. I just have a real strong empathy for the people that are in the restaurant business, I guess, because of my background. And I'll just say that straight out, okay? Because I don't know how I would have existed in this climate. Pat and I would have probably closed up permanently. We didn't have a pile of money set aside to do that. She did work during the period of time that we were there, but that got us by through just the things we were doing. And I just don't know how you would survive without some help, and as much help as you possibly can. And I thought this was a solution that had been worked out, expanded or not expanded. And I don't know how many people would, until we really find out people are upset with seeing people drinking. I don't think it's gonna make one bit of difference if I walk by a beer grotto and walk within 2 inches of people sitting there drinking, or somebody walking by with a beer out in the alley or down in front of, across the street in front of the Dairy Queen to go to Aubrey's. I don't understand the hesitancy of that. I don't see it's a big deal. And I do agree with Sean that, you know, it should be at the lights. There's no question about that. And I don't want them drinking in the park either, okay? But I don't think people are drinking in the park. You know? I'm rambling a little bit, but I just want to see if we can come up with a solution for these businesses that are crying out for help. And if you look at the statistics of businesses, particularly businesses of restaurants that serve alcohol, they are dying at a rapid rate, and it's estimated that over half of them will be gone by March. The rest of them, not the half that's already gone, half of them will be gone by March. What if we lose 2 more restaurants here in this town? That would be disastrous.
All set, Paul?
Yeah, I guess so. Thanks for letting me
Well, no,
ramble.
wave at me. If you're not done,
No, I'm
not trying to-
okay for now. Thanks, Sean. Anyway, yeah.
Okay. Marie, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, I have a clarification that's not relevant to the social districts discussion. I don't know if you would like me to make it now or at the end of the meeting.
No, go ahead, please.
On the assessing that Councilperson Griffith mentioned,
Mhm.
the work that we're doing, the way it works is that anything that we find or change in the records, as long as the property has not transferred or something new has not been built without a permit,
Mhm.
the person's taxes are not raised. It affects the equalized value or the market value of the property, but not the taxable value. The only time that changes is if the property sells, changes, ownership, or we find something that was not in the records already. So I just wanted to clarify that for anybody listening.
Yep, thank you.
So you're just collecting accurate information is what you're saying?
That is correct.
Yeah, okay, good. Appreciate you making that clarification for us. Okay, I'm not seeing any other comments on this.
Excuse me, Sean,
Yeah.
what is on the table right now? Can you clarify that for us?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna read. I have a motion by Michelle's, second by Fisher, to update the social district and commons area boundary consistent with what's, I believe Zach called it in the packet here. As shown on page, what page is that? 98 of 136. Zach, did I get that right?
Yep. I do have a question for staff here.
Okay, please go.
If we run this for a couple weeks or a month and it looks like folks are just kind of hanging out where they're at, so Erotic Ales, they've got their tent and folks aren't getting stuff and going to the consumption area. The pub has a tent in the back and their folks aren't wandering. All the folks from Beer Grotto are staying at that tent and all the folks at Aubrey's are staying in their spot. We're able to undo this and look at other solutions such as allowing Beer Grotto to put a tent up in the parking lot, right?
I don't know that I got a clear cut and dry answer for you on that. If you go forward, the businesses will go forward to secure their licenses or their permits from liquor control. And there is a fee that they pay for those. So to say that, yeah, you can change your mind, sure you can, but there's going to be an impact on those businesses because they will have gotten permits based on the approval that you give.
All right, thank you.
This is just a general comment to, my sense here, it's already December 14th. And we observed the last time 2 weeks ago when we gave staff permission to go forward, Michelle got a pretty good response, a pretty quick response from the Liquor Control Commission. We're only talking about the remainder of December in January and February, right? Or does it include March too?
No, it does not include March. We have.
Okay, I thought so.
We'd
So
have to modify things.
It's okay, that's good, that's good. So we're only, I mean, we're basically at 75 days right now. So I feel like, a motion to support this, we're giving this a try for the season. And if we take comment after that, and it's a disaster one way or the other, or whatever, people are, outraged, we just wouldn't implement it. I think in the future, we would change it there. But if people are gonna, if the businesses are gonna apply for their portion of the license, I sort of feel like we need to give them the 70 days or whatever's gonna be left after we apply and finally get stuff going to give this a try. It's like a 2-month experiment is what I'm getting at. At least I think that's how we should all view it. Jamie, you still have your hand up. Anything else?
Just a clarifying question about the timeline. My read of the legislation says that it's an annual permit and that you can only revoke the designation of the social district by having a public hearing. Is there something else that allows us to be doing this for a shorter period of time?
Right, we set the hours of operation. If this is going to be seasonal or year round, we get to set that base.
Okay.
Once the business has their license, they can have it annually, but they can only operate when we have our district open.
Gotcha.
Consistent with our management plan.
Right, consistent with the management plan.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
I call the question.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anybody else looking to, Ms. Jones, if you could please call. Again, it was a motion by Michelle, second by Fisher, to update the social district and commons areas to match what's on page 98.
Yes. Cousins,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Griffin,
No.
Keo.
Yes. All right, thank you for the discussion on that, everyone. That motion carries 6-1. Michelle, I assume that means you'll be resubmitting.
Yep. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda is new business item L4, which is a consideration of amendments to the zoning ordinance, commercial kennels.
Point of clarification, should we just postpone this concurrent with the other fella?
I'm thinking that makes sense, Zach.
Second.
Okay, Zach with the motion to postpone. Is there a second?
Jamie seconds.
Amy, thank you. Give me a second. I'm just writing it down. Any discussion on the postponement? Okay, so I'm going to say that's postponed to the same date, same meeting, right? So it'll be the first meeting in January.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, Ms. Jones, please
Yes.
call a vote.
Okay. Knight,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Cousins,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Keo.
Yes. Thank you. New business item L5 is another consideration of amendments to the zoning ordinance related to outdoor service areas.
Okay. All right,
Hold on,
council.
hold on, Michelle, I need a
Oh,
motion.
that's right. Sorry.
I'll call on you, hold on. Does any council member want to move this? One way or the other?
Sure, I will move to adopt the amendments to the zoning ordinance outdoor service areas.
Okay, motion by Griffin. Thank you, Jamie. Is there a second?
I'll second, if we clarify that the motion was the one on page 120.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Zach, for helping me remember to do that. Jamie, I think that's your intent, right?
Yes.
Let me just get
Wait,
there as well.
the one with the proposed recommendations from the planning commission.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yep, I agree. Page 120 is what I have. Okay, yep, thank you, Zach. So you're good for seconding?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Now we can get into staff report before discussion.
Okay, so you've known that this could be coming to you. Planning Commission did consider this at a public hearing last month, and this text amendment is to consider amendments to the ordinance for outdoor service areas, and the second is to adopt a resolution to establish application and annual permit fees for the outdoor service areas. So the purpose of the amendments, excuse me, the proposed amendments will remove outdoor seating / eating areas as special uses currently in the ordinance, and establish this new term for them called outdoor service areas. And that would be, they would be as a principal use. The proposed amendments define accessory outdoor service areas. They make them permitted accessory use in specific zoning districts, excuse me, with a zoning compliance permit and annual renewal through administrative review. And they also establish a set of general regulations for their operation. As I said, Planning Commission did conduct their public hearing. There were no public comments. They had a thorough discussion and then voted unanimously to approve the outdoor service area text amendment. But they did make a couple of changes, and these changes have been incorporated already. Excuse me. Other than the first two, which are pretty self-explanatory, the third one was a clarification of that particular excuse me, of that particular provision, so that it was clearer. Tables, chairs, umbrellas, planters, trash receptacles, and other elements of street furniture shall be of high quality material that are consistent with the character of the district in which the outdoor service area is located. And then they clarified the language in subsection D8, so that the outdoor service area street furniture is maintained in a state of good repair, that any broken, peeling, rusting features or that are showing signs of disrepair shall be promptly removed and replaced. And then there were a couple of grammar things, commas after permit, after certain words. And then we just clarified or cleaned up where in section 1703, subsection F3D, it was still saying outdoor seating areas when it needed to say outdoor service areas. So all of those recommendations have been incorporated into this set of drafts over the next few pages for your consideration. I did have an exchange with Councilman Michelle's this afternoon regarding what seemed like overlapping between outdoor display and outdoor service area. And what I'm proposing is that to eliminate that ambiguity that could have resulted, the outdoor service area definition has an additional sentence added to it that would state, retail display areas shall not exceed 100 square feet. So that entire definition would read, outdoor service area, a porch, patio, deck, sidewalk, or other area of land used for seated dining and beverage service or retail display, which is directly adjacent and accessory to, but not located within, the interior building walls of a food and or beverage establishment or a retail establishment, And the additional language, retail display areas shall not exceed 100 square feet. And you may be wondering, well, where did you come up with that 100 square feet? Traditionally, a storefront is 20 feet wide. Our sidewalks are 10 feet wide, and there has to be at least a 5-foot clear pedestrian access area. So that leaves 20 by 5. That's where that 100 square feet comes from. Excuse me. All of the rest of the, and when I went over that with Mr. Michel's, he was comfortable with that. He felt that that clarified. All of the rest are the same. Let me go through the criteria. We'll do it short and sweet. There's 4 different criteria that has to be considered. The first one is documentation that's provided by staff, the Zoning Board of Appeals, regarding conflicts, et cetera, like what Mike did with the kennels. So you'll recall that back in 2017, when Aubrey's and Dexter Pub at different times wanted to amend their outdoor special use, their outdoor seating areas, special land use approval, they had to literally go through Planning Commission and Council to get that to happen. That's a lot of cost, time, and expense for an applicant for something that, for the minor changes that were made, could have easily been handled by staff. When we went through for the Dexter Pub, Planning Commission actually asked staff to get an opinion from, or not an opinion, but to consult the city attorney regarding mechanisms for terminating outdoor service, outdoor seating areas. There was some question about that. Since that particular response isn't applicable to this, I'll go to the crux of what the city attorney said. And that was when he provided the comments regarding the mechanism Planning Commission asked for. He also mentioned that he recommended that we take the special land use for outdoor seating out of the zoning ordinance, or don't make it a special land use, that was kind of an overreach and just added more cost and time to the process for the applicant. So the second set of criteria is reference material, planning and zoning publications, et cetera, that might indicate that the current standards that the city is using are out of date. So one of the things that I think COVID-19 has taught us, if it's taught us nothing else, is we've learned to look at land uses that we may not have considered in the past. We've done parklets in parking spaces on public street that we never would have considered had it not been for this COVID situation. We looked at a social district tonight and approving something that we never would have considered in the past. So on one hand, COVID has been an absolutely gut-wrenching, horrible experience across the board on many levels. But it also has taught us some things that we can think out of the box, we can try some things, and it doesn't necessarily have to negatively impact the health, safety, and welfare, which is what we're charged with when we look at ordinances. As far as a publication is concerned, what COVID also did is it prompted the Michigan Economic Development Corporation to develop a winter strategies for downtowns and downtown business districts guide. And it is based on the National Trust for Historic Preservation's 4-point approach, which focuses on organization, promotion, design, and economic vitality to incrementally make improvements in a downtown or in a business district. And the guide established 7 principles of winter planning, which I've provided in your packet. But basically the guide recommends that in order to implement those 7 principles, one of 3 items was to identify local zoning ordinances, zoning and policies to determine if updates are needed to support and accommodate the creative efforts and new initiatives that are outlined in the guide, and as well as any other creative ideas that communities may come up with on their own. C was city attorney. We've already established that in the first criteria. And the last one is, would the amendment promote implementation of goals and objectives to the city's master plan? And this definitely would. The recently adopted master plan does establish an economic development goal, excuse me, to provide quality job-producing economic development for a diverse economy within the city. And then strategies to implement that goal include promote and coordinate activities aimed at improving the business climate within the city and plan for and promote tourism in the city of Dexter. This amendment to allow the outdoor service area as an accessory, but a by right accessory use in certain commercial districts, subject to administrative review, would implement the master plan, the goals and strategies. So I've provided some, just a quick summary for you, which I've basically already gone over, so I won't regurgitate. The other thing that you are asked to do tonight in coordination with this is to update your outdoor service fee, permit fees. You currently have a $50 initial application, and that's for the special land use. And then you have the $50 for the annual renewal. I've also provided examples from other communities and what they charge. And what's interesting is that some establish an application fee or a permit fee, but then they also go a little bit farther and they look at establishing a fee, or they base the fee on the use of the space. Tonight, I'm not asking you to consider doing that in conjunction with the $50 application fee, but I think it's something for council to discuss. And in the future, post-COVID, when there is a more stable economy, is that something you might want to consider, because they are using public space for profit. And I don't think it's something that we've ever discussed before. So my recommendation is that because of the current COVID crisis, because of the constraints on our business community, just keep the $50 application fee and $50 annual renewal fee for right now. You can always come back later if you feel the need to increase that. Again, once the COVID crisis is over and our economy is back to a healthy, our businesses have a healthy economy. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions by council? Michelle, I'll open the door with the question, I guess.
I think Zach had one too, Sean.
Oh, did I miss? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Zach. I would rather have council go first. Go ahead, Zach.
All right. Just to clarify for new folks and members of the public, the reason why we haven't held a public hearing for this zoning ordinance amendment is the Zoning Enabling Act says you need to hold one public hearing, and our zoning ordinance says the Planning Commission does that, and the Planning Commission held a public hearing for this, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So a couple things that I will throw out there for potential changes is including the definition, that sentence for definition for outdoor service area, the last sentence, adding that. Section 14.03M, which is on page 113, should be deleted. That's kind of an appendix from way back in the day, used car lots. And the reason why that can be amended is automobile and vehicle dealerships include both of those. And throughout the text for the outdoor seating area is instead of abbreviating it as OSA, just spell the whole thing out. It will make it a little bit longer, but it'll make it easier for any member of the public to use without having to try to remember abbreviations. And I'm done with that. Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. Anybody else want to go, or maybe I'll jump in here while you're thinking about that. So Michelle, how does, you mentioned the example of 20 feet of storefront by 5 or 100 square feet. So is the outdoor storage portion that we're talking about, is that only public right away?
Outdoor storage is a completely different. Outdoor storage is, excuse me, um, are things directly related to the principal use on that property. It's not things that are stored outside for display and sale. It's just stored outside.
Well, I'm just, there's modifications to that definition, so it just has me thinking. So does this apply to bushes?
Does which part?
The outdoor storage?
If you're talking about things that
or the outdoor display.
The outdoor display would apply to bushes.
I mean, it doesn't say
so
food.
Okay. You've got a good, you bring up a good point. So
I wasn't really trying to.
so no, it's always a mental exercise because just when you think you've got it down for your businesses, like I just said with that adding that little sentence at the end of retail or outdoor storage area, you bring up a really good point, and that is bushes would throw that whole 100 square feet right out of the gate.
Yeah, they would need several hundred square feet.
Correct. You're correct.
Well, and I guess I'm just thinking, I don't know where the furniture store is going to want to go with what they do.
The furniture
appliance. Sorry, what's it called? The new
Noble, right?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the help, everyone. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
So Noble's got a different type of situation. They don't have a sidewalk area per se, if I remember correctly.
Well, there used to be an overhang or a sidewalk area that comes off of what is it, Lexington or whatever, or Carrington.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
From on the east side of the building.
That far side, right. So no, Bush's Country Market, that would not fall under outdoor display. I'm going to have to ask that you postpone this so that I can go back and work on the outdoor service area.
Okay.
To be able to handle both of these.
Michelle, let me just ask, the other thing I guess I want to make sure is covered is how about gas stations?
Again, that's not a traditional outdoor display, so that would be outdoor service area. But they do display things for sale, and they have to figure out how to.
Sometimes sometimes it's like year round. There's propane for sale, and there's ice for sale.
Mm-hmm.
And then seasonally, a lot of them bring in
wood.
I don't know, wood or apples or carrots or
right.
Whatever. Yeah. So I guess I think this needs a little more work, maybe.
I agree with you. So I would ask that you postpone it. Let me work on it and bring it back to you next month.
Okay. Well, and if it needs to go back to Planning Commission for them to, if it's significant, I don't have a problem with it taking that route either.
Right.
Donna, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I move to postpone until the January meeting. Or no, I don't. I want to postpone until Michelle is ready to bring it back to us.
Okay, that sounds good. Motion by Fisher to postpone until staff is ready.
Paul will second that.
Okay, second by Cousins. Thank you both. Any discussion on the postponement? I didn't mean to trump if there's other comments that other people have. Maybe I should ask, did other people, if you do have other comments, please get them to Michelle, okay?
Well, I'll just throw out there so I don't have to send her another email.
It's
Is
okay,
one
Zach.
potential avenue could be under general regulations, having different square footage limits based on the zoning district or lot size or something like that.
Right, good idea. Thanks, Zach.
Thanks, Zach.
Okay, I'm gonna ask Ms. Jones to call the vote on the motion to postpone, please.
Okay, Hubbard,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Cousins,
Yes,
Griffin,
Jamie's not there anymore.
okay,
I think she lost her. Oh, no, here she's reconnecting.
okay. Let me move to the other two and then I'll come back. Fisher,
Yes.
Keo,
Yes,
okay.
It looks like Jamie's back, Carol.
I'm back.
Okay. Okay, all right. We're voting on a postponement for L5, so
Okay.
you're the last one up.
Yes.
Yes?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
okay, thanks, everybody. New business item L6 is consideration of directing DAFD to prepare a revised needs assessment. Zach, you asked for this to be on the agenda last Monday, so I'll look to you to either start us off or take it where you want to go.
Well, I'll make a motion so we can practice good Robert's rules. So I move to request the Dexter Area Fire Department prepare a new or revised needs assessment for the Dexter City Fire Station and return that document for City Council's review.
So is that one of your motions on page?
It's a variation on the first one. I took out direct and changed that to request, since we can't force another entity to do something, and left open the date so that Mr. Smith or Chief Smith can bring it to us when it's appropriate.
Okay. Okay, so just let me read again. Move to request the Dexter Area Fire Department to prepare a new or revised needs assessment for the Dexter City Fire Station and return that document for council's review.
Yep.
Okay, just want to make sure I had it. Thank you. Okay, so motion by Zach. Is there a second?
Cousins will support that.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Second by Cousins. Okay, Zach, anything further after the motion?
Yep. So the process has been difficult for us. And as I put in there, it's for those of us who've done these projects, it's a bit simple description of what a needs assessment is. But it really ought to serve as the foundation. And I'm trying to think of ways that we can work at fire station with smaller, easier bite-sized bits. The current needs assessment is a bit dated. There have been some changes in the DAFD and firefighting processes. So I felt it was good that we ought to do one. And if possible in our discussion, if Chief Smith is still here, I'd like to hear from him if he thinks this is useful and how long it would take to get that. And I'm all set then.
Okay. Thank you. Is Chief Smith on the line? Or can you unmute Chief Smith? Maybe he can answer Zach's question first for us all.
Sure. The last report that I gave to council was from 2018. Certainly, I think updating it and correcting all the errors that are in it, the grammar and spelling and things like that is certainly appropriate, but I don't see a lot of changes, but I have worked on it a little bit. I could probably have something for next council meeting.
Okay, thank you for answering the question. Are there other council members that would like to make comments or have questions? Wow, I see your hand is up.
Thank you. I want to say a couple of things. First of all, I'm not saying I don't think we need an updated needs assessment or that I don't think it's important, but I think that given, what's back in the city manager's report, asking for the new council members to have an overview of what's gone on and with the facilities discussion, and the fact that we're having a goal setting meeting in January, and that we've moved that up faster than we normally do so that we can get started on things. I think that it's premature for me to weigh in on this and discuss this before I have those two things in my possession and in my rearview mirror. And so I don't feel equipped to have this discussion tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Paul?
Well, would you be okay with that? The report is done by Chief Smith and it be part of our goal setting? I mean, I think that would be appropriate, but maybe I didn't quite get all. I thought you said you didn't want to discuss it till we got to that point. So could that be part of it? His report be part of it? So we have that as a document to work on our goal setting.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think that would be valuable. We could also look at the one that we already have. I mean, Chief Smith just said he doesn't have many updates, because I also have questions about the needs assessment coming just from the one source. And I don't know if that's customarily how it's done, but if I'm wanting, it makes logical sense to me that a needs assessment would have other voices and other input. And I don't know if I'm off based on that not historically, like speaking from a standpoint of, what's customarily done. But I don't know enough. I don't know enough yet. And I just feel like this is rushed from my perspective because it is very important. And I don't want to be voting on things that I don't feel that I have had enough time and discussion with all of you to know, to use my best judgment based on what's best for the community. I'm just not comfortable with it.
Zach, I see your hand.
Does it make you more comfortable knowing that this is just requesting the creation of the document and not that we're adopting it, as this is the basis that we're going forward with?
Yes, to a degree, but also based on what I just said, if I'm thinking we might need a broader needs assessment, I don't want to waste time creating something before we have a larger discussion is all. I mean, like I said, I'm not saying we don't need it. I definitely do want an updated needs assessment. I'm just wanting to have a discussion about what that, like, the best way to go about doing that, I guess. And I don't know, I was a little caught off guard having these things on the agenda right away before we've really had a chance to, I don't know. It seems quick to me.
Well, if I can just jump in, and this sort of relates to the next item a little bit too. We just had our organizational matters workshop 2 weeks ago, and we filled vacancies and assign people to different council committees. And we didn't even bring, this topic up. Not to say that I wasn't planning to get there. One of the reasons I wanted to move the goal setting session up is that, 28% of our council is new. And I don't know how the discussions are going to shake out as to what, the priorities will be that this council ends up working on for the next couple of years together. And, what I was hoping to do coming off of the election was have a couple of meetings. We had a special meeting to get to know each other a little bit on the organizational side, to get through the holidays and get to those goal setting sessions. And I guess I'm kind of with Wah that, I think it would be better for some of these items to wait. But the current, as Zach says, our current rules put stuff on, and if we want to postpone them, we might be setting a record for the number of things that are postponed tonight. But if that's what it takes to get everybody on the same page, might be better suited for the goal setting session. I guess if that's the case, I'd want to get some input on other topics from everybody so that when we make up the goal setting session, I can make sure I get the items on there that we need to discuss. Is it reasonable for this to wait? I'll say a month or whatever, to allow that goal setting session conversation to start. Jamie, I see you have your hand up. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, thanks. I guess we're just talking about the needs assessment right now. I mean, I agree a little bit with Wah. There's a lot of catching up to do, even though I feel like I've been, paying some attention before being elected. I would want this no matter what we talk about. I would feel comfortable having Chief Smith update it. It sounds like it's not substantial anyways. I could see it either way. I'm happy to have him do it. I'd be happy to support this just to keep things moving forward. I don't see me ever, not wanting this done, although I suppose that could change, but I would be fine supporting this part tonight. I recognize what you're saying about the steering committee, and we could talk about that, I guess, when that comes up. That's all.
Okay, appreciate the input. Zach?
So when we postpone something, there ought to be some purpose that we're going to get better document back, or something is going to be better the next time we discuss it. In this case, we're just saying, hey, DAFD, update the thing you did before. We're not saying we're not going to go out for another needs assessment, or we're not going to ask them to refine it or clarify it or have work sessions on it. This is just, hey, update what you've got. We're going to need that at some point in the process. Let's get something done that's not heavy lifting for us. That's all.
Okay. Well, Wah, is your hands back up?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Zach, I do appreciate that clarification. That does make me more comfortable with this. As long as it's something we can revisit and that it's something we can expand upon and involve other voices, then I'm definitely comfortable with the needs assessment side of it for right now. But yeah, again, the rest of my comments, I still stand.
Okay. Chief, I see your hands up again.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear, as Wah has a fantastic point there, and I think where she's going is there's all kinds of needs assessments there. As you know, Sean, we did a staffing needs assessment some time ago by a third party. There's a hazard need assessment. There's all kinds of assessments, and I think the one that maybe this statement alludes to is looking at whether, what types of services we should provide as DAFD, or what types of services does the city of Dexter want from their fire department. I want to be clear that this particular assessment that Zach's talking about is a facilities, just a facilities need. And what do we need for a facility in order to continue to provide the exact same services as we are today and provide them efficiently? So, you know, we're not looking at, should we provide water rescue or should we provide technical rescue? We're just looking at the building needs for the fire department. And so it's just an opinion and recommendation on my part to the city of Dexter. I certainly agree we need other needs assessments down the road, but that might be a completely different type of assessment. Just my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Are there other council members with comments?
Paul has.
Ron, Paul,
Oh, sorry, Paul. Please, I
Sorry.
can't find you, so please
okay.
go.
I don't,
There you
I
are.
disappeared off my screen, so maybe I'm not there, but I got my hand up. Anyway, I say this, I just think that we ought to move forward. And I understand Waugh's hesitancy because she hasn't had a lot of time to catch up on anything, but you know, we've had this before. This is kind of just a review of that. It's another piece of document that we can. And I guess, once again, if we're just going to continue postponing things, we should have passed the amendment before that we just postpone things instead of being able to deal with them straight on.
I'm not sure I followed that last part, but Donna, your hands up.
Yeah, if there's any discomfort on the part of anybody who's new, it's not going to hurt us to wait for 3 weeks and get together and be in a session where we can have unlimited time and to discuss it. And now that I've heard the chief's comments, I think it's wise to postpone.
Julie?
I'm in favor of moving forward with this.
Okay. Okay, well, the motion right now is to, motion by Zach, second by Cousins, to request the Dexter Fire Department to prepare a new or revised needs assessment for the Dexter City Fire Station and return that document for City Council's review. If nobody has any other comments, we can just.
Sean, what,
Oh, I see Donna and then Wah.
Yeah,
Donna,
yeah.
go ahead, Donna.
what will this needs assessment be evaluating? I've heard several things tonight about various different kinds. So which one are we asking for here?
Let me go back to Zach. Zach, you intended for, you want to clarify what it's for?
Yep, it's an update of the one that was previously prepared, and my apologies for getting the date on that wrong. It basically says, in order to do our mission, we need this fire truck and this fire truck and this squad car and this brush car and this many firefighters, and here's the associated space with each of those things. So it's not going to the larger questions of staffing. Do we want to do rescue? Do we want to do full medical? Do we want to have helivac type stuff? It's basically
Space needs.
Yeah, a space needs assessment. Basically a revision of the one that we had.
Okay. Donna, did that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Yep, okay. Wah, your hands up, please.
Yeah, I guess I kind of forgot why I put my hand up because I just thought of something else when Zach was talking with that clarification. That makes me think of, something else that I've been thinking about, which is, I don't know. And again, I don't have all the history. I have been paying attention as a citizen, but not closely enough to be having a discussion as a council person. But my gut instinct is if we're going to do a needs assessment on facilities, we have other facilities needs in the city. And they, I understand right now we're just talking about the facility of the fire station. I struggle with the idea of not talking about all of our needs for facilities under one heading before we move on to something else. And so I think and I understand that that's not directly what we're talking about right now, but this all goes back to the idea that I feel rushed into this discussion. And I feel like this is a good discussion that we're having right now, but I just am having, I don't, as much as I don't want to postpone everything tonight either, I'm having a hard time with this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let me just click, make sure I'm not, oh, Zach, is your hand up?
So we do have a facility needs assessment for City Hall that already exists out there. It says this many office staff, this much square footage. So that document does exist. And I don't believe it needs too much updating. Anyone else is free to put that on there. The reason why I brought this one up is because it is in my opinion, again, the reason why I put it up is that if we don't have enough office space for folks, or we don't have enough space for a second copier, it is miserable and it's sad, but we're not putting people at risk of catching cancer because we have a poor facility. And my experience these past 5 years is we did have a facilities committee that kind of just petered out in 2016 because it was too big a question to answer the entire thing all at once. So it was my intent for us to try to get smaller morsels that we can chew on so we don't have to solve everything all at once, so that we can kind of look at little bits and pieces.
Thanks, Zach. Wah?
I just want to make sure that I clarify that I was in no way suggesting that I was no way trying to put a copier and the fire station in the same bucket. What I'm saying is, and maybe, okay, so maybe there was something done prior to me being here, and the people involved then thought that putting it all together in one discussion wasn't productive and it was too big. Well, that's not necessarily how my brain works, and I'm a new person on this council. And this just goes back to my point that we're about to and it's frustrating to me as a new person to be having this discussion right now like this, because I think that we could have started 5 steps back and gotten here a lot faster. And this is just not, I'm like I said, I'm struggling with this decision.
If I might ask, what would the 5 steps you would put before this, and how long do you feel would be appropriate before this being a topic?
I guess I don't know. And that's my whole point, is like, and 5 was just arbitrary. Like, I would have liked to have, I don't know.
Well, let me jump in for a second. So, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, which is my hope was that since we had, 28% of council being new, that we would start with the basic question, what are our goals? And that everybody was on the same page with asking or bringing forth their goals. And if it turns out that, the majority of council want to go down the direction of new fire station, well, then that's certainly a goal that this body needs to figure out how to keep going forward on. Okay, but this suggested motion assumes that that's the, and maybe not incorrectly assumes, okay, assumes that determination's already there. And what it sounds like to me is that was wishing to just have a fresh start. And I was hoping that we could at least get to the first goal setting session to figure out where people were on different things, what they understood. Just the basic, we're all starting at the same point in time. And I think what I'm hearing Was say is that she doesn't feel she's being afforded that equal starting point.
John Paul's got his hand up.
Oh, I'm clicking over, sorry. When I'm talking, I don't always. Paul, go ahead, please. Thanks for waiting.
I just think it's going on and on. I moved the previous question to get us moving.
Okay, so motion by Zach, second by Cousins. I think everybody understands the motion. Ms. Jones, please call the vote.
Okay, Fisher,
No.
Griffin,
Yes.
Cousins,
Yes,
Knight,
Yes,
Michelle,
Yes.
Hubbard,
No,
Keo.
No. All right, so we passed that 4-3. So Chief Smith, if you would please, you and your team at the DFD work on that, we would appreciate it. Let us know when it's ready. New business item L7 is consideration of creation of fire station steering committee.
I would move that this be changed to discussion item.
Second.
Okay, I moved by Zach, second by Jamie to change it to discussion. Okay. Is there anybody that wants to discuss doing that? Okay, Carol, please call the vote to change it to a discussion item.
Okay, Griffin,
Yes.
Hubbard,
yes,
Cousins,
yes,
Fisher,
Yes.
Knight,
I don't see Julie on.
Looks like she dropped off.
okay.
Keep
I'll
going,
move.
Carol. We'll show her as
Okay,
absent for now.
Yes.
Michelle, Keo.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, so now new business item L7 is a discussion item. Zach, I'll give you the floor again since you're the one that brought it forward.
So, the idea for this is based on the best practices I've heard from the webinars and the Fire Station Design Conference. We had previously, as mentioned, had a facility committee, and that it did a lot of work, but it wasn't really helpful for the committee of the whole. The way I view this body is working similar to like our finance committee or infrastructure committee. So the idea would be the chief prepares the needs assessment, and this group gets together and kind of does a first go through of the materials. So that way, when it goes to the council, the chief knows what areas are rough, what areas to focus on, and that type of thing. So an example would be with our meter investment that we've got. Miss Sherry brought Mr. Keo and myself in and ran it up our flagpole and said, hey, you guys, what do you think of this? Should I take this to council? What do you guys want to hear? So the idea isn't in any pre-construction phase that it makes decisions, but rather that it kind of pre-reviews documents to get perspective and input from the various entities that would be responsible for this facility. In construction time, it would be a different process or a different charge for the group. So there are a lot of decisions that are made on the fly. A pile that we've picked isn't available or something like that. You need to make a decision on the fly. So that's the idea, is to kind of prepare whatever comes to council so that it's a bit more polished and more focused to what council's desires are.
Well, Zach, oh, go ahead, Jamie.
I was just going to say, I think this is something that we could continue discussing at the goal setting meeting, and that's all.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm certainly not prepared to recommend people to serve on this committee at this point. And nor am I ready to suggest an agenda for such a committee. So I'd prefer that, you know, we get into goal setting a little bit and get down the road a little bit with some of our discussions as we get to know where we want to go with things. I think it's way too premature to establish a steering committee for something like on that topic at this point. Wow.
I was just gonna second what Jamie said, that I think it's good for the goals meeting, and as a continuation of what I was saying in the last item, I need more information and more of a, like you said, that is what I was saying, to start from a level, like a fresh start and go from there.
Paul or Donna or Julie, anything to add on this?
I think it should belong in goal setting as well. I said before, whatever it takes to make our new people feel more comfortable, I'm willing to go there.
Julie?
You asked me, Sean.
Julie,
Sean,
welcome back. I see your hand.
I kind of got lost for a bit. Do we have a motion on the table?
No, we're just discussing item L7. We switched it to a discussion item.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Welcome back. Paul?
I want to discuss, because I would have voted for this. We've got to realize that every delay for anything that we do as relates to the city hall, the fire hall, costs us more money. Every minute that we delay costs us more money. And if we continue on this concept that we delay, we will be adding another $300,000, another $500,000, another $1 million in a year before we make a decision. We know that's what the cost of living is going up as it relates to fire halls and the construction costs. We've been told that by the experts. And we have to start realizing this is a crisis as well as of money besides time. And so, I was on the steering committee previously. I've been on the council during this whole time. And I just think that we need to move forward as fast as we can on all the subjects, whether it's the city hall, whether it's the fire hall. And the fire hall obviously is a priority because of what Zach previously has mentioned before as it relates to the conditions in the present fire hall and the seriousness of that area. And that's enough said right now. I will be happy to discuss this at any workshop, but also happy to make motions or to support activities and move this whole process forward as fast as possible, ASAP.
Jamie? Thanks, Paul. Jamie?
Yep. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I want to agree with that general sentiment for sure. It sounded like maybe we just needed more discussion about the actual details of the committee, but I totally agree that I am hoping to get up to speed as quickly as possible. I would like to see action on this soon. So I will definitely, do what I can, reviewing everything that's already available, whatever staff is able to put together as soon as possible. I'll be ready.
Okay.
Thank you.
So just so we don't leave the public, thinking that we're causing cancer by every day that goes by, it is fair to point out that there is the reference to the whole cancer causing is relative to the fact that the current station does not have a modern decontamination area separate from the bays when the trucks come in. But the district and the department do have one within the district that could be used if necessary. So I just want to make it clear that anybody listening in that the inactivity might be causing more cost that, I guess that would have to be proven out, but it's not causing cancer. So I don't want to leave anyone with the wrong impression here. Why?
I just, I'll echo a little bit of what Jamie said, which is I'm not sitting here saying, I guess I hope you're not interpreting what I'm saying is that I want inaction on this issue. That's not what I want. And I understand rising costs. I understand that in my personal life. I mean, my eyes aren't closed to that reality, but I think that we don't even know, we haven't even agreed on what the plan is. So how can we sit here and say we have X amount per day when we haven't even agreed what the final path forward is? I think that's a little bit misleading. Again, it's not misleading to say the costs are going up every day. I just think that we have to be careful about saying how much they're going up when we haven't decided on a path forward.
Okay, so I'm going to make sure that this is a topic at our goal setting. Is that fair for everybody? Or do we need to keep discussing that at this point?
You want me to formally postpone it to the first meeting after goal setting session?
No, I think it's fine right here as a discussion. I mean, unless you want to do that, but I don't know that you've already changed it from a consideration item. So, you can always bring it back, Zach, like you have before.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, unless I'm missing something, let's have the discussion and then go from there. Jamie?
Yeah, I just want to say, would it ever be possible to do a work session? So suppose we have this goal setting session, which I don't think would be devoted just to this topic. It would be, broader. What are our goals? And stemming from that, would we ever say, okay, let's have a work session now on the fire station, if that ends up being a goal that people want and we want to move quickly on it? Would it be more effective to do that as a work session as opposed to?
Yeah. We could certainly have focused topics. No problem coming out of the goal setting.
Yeah, so I guess I could envision something like that happening. That's all I'm saying. Thanks.
Yep. Nope. I understand. Good idea. Okay, I'm going to jump down to council comments. Mr. Cousins, if you wouldn't mind going first, please.
John, I missed who you said.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paul. I would like to jump down to council comments, and your name's at the top of my list under participants. If you wouldn't mind going first, please.
No, I wouldn't. I'm sorry, I just didn't hear it. Two things. I really appreciate the comments about the community garden. I was a little concerned about a new spot and a new beginning in a spot that has never been used before. It took us a number of years to make the soil as good as it could be. That we have some decent opportunities to grow vegetables there for the community and for our families. I hope that this becomes a major issue that we can work on and get it done as fast as possible. And when Justin's comment about me asking for the documents to be given to the two previous, I asked that those all be done, including the previous committee that was done was when Fred was with us, with Jim and Julie and I and Sean, and I would hope that and then all the other committees that we've had and meetings we've had since then. I also asked that and I think the word is compendum, that we have, so that when he gives that to them, that we also get a list of those items that he has sent to them, so that we can sort through, bring ours. I think I have mine in order, but I don't know for sure that I'm going to miss something. So when he sends those documents, I have all those documents. I just want to make sure that I've got them all, so that when we're all on the same page when we talk about it. Thank you very much. And before that, I think this is our last meeting before Christmas, and everybody have a happy holiday and a Merry Christmas. And a safe one.
Thanks, Paul. You too. Zach?
Yep. I gave the homework for the student reps last time to think about how we could recognize great achievements. We've got the sign coming up for the field hockey team. I'm going to put something more on your plate for you to consider that I hope we'll discuss at the goal setting session. Is now that we've run the student representative program for, well, we're running to the back end of 2 years here. I'm curious ways that we can make the process better for you, the students. Things like guides to hand to you, touring facilities, having a mentor on council or the commission or whatever it is. So that's kind of your warning to get your thinking caps on for goal setting session or further discussions. One other thing I'm going to bring up, and I don't like to bring up things that I don't necessarily have suggestions for, is, and I know I'm not the only one to feel similar to this, is the last several goal setting meetings that we've had, or cycles we've had them, haven't been enjoyable to participate in. And I say that not because folks haven't wanted the same goals I have, but it just seems very dry. Here's a sheet with the goals and we all kind of nod our heads and go, yeah, that sounds good. It's not, you don't get that yes energy that you would after, for example, the 3045 Broad Street redevelopment, where you're excited and thoughtful of all the potential things that can be accomplished in the next year. I don't know how we create that. Perhaps the first one, we don't have any documents and we just talk and we share ideas. And then the next one or the one after that, we have the more formalized documents. But I just wanted to share that.
Okay. Yeah, Zach, thanks. My recollection is last year, facilities didn't come up in either meeting.
I was driving Zamboni probably at both of those.
What's that?
I was probably driving Zamboni on both of those because I have to work on weekends.
Maybe. Anyway, thank you for your comments. Alex?
Yes, I will work with Bella to have suggestions for the 2 items Mr. Michelle's brought up, and happy holidays to all who have or will be celebrating.
Thank you. Julie?
I have nothing. Just happy holidays, everyone.
Same to you, Julie. Bella?
Okay. I had recommendations, I think, from the thing Mr. Michelle's asked about last week. So we could like make like a social media for like appreciation towards like Dexter students and things we like happening towards Dexter. Or we could like just put the like, I know we already do this, but we could put in a newsletter and stuff like that. I think those would be good ideas for it.
Thank you. Thank you. Love to hear more of that. Wah?
Happy holidays, everybody. And, you know, as somebody who's not been able to sit at a table in the same room with all of you on council, I really look forward to when we can safely do that again. I really do. Where I can see everyone's faces at the same time and we can have an in-person discussion. I'm really looking forward when we can safely do that.
So did Wah just announce she's running for another term?
Potentially. Potentially. Jamie?
Yeah, I don't have much. I do want to say that, yeah, people can call me Jamie. I know some people call me Councilmember Griffin. Feel free to call me Jamie. I'm turning my camera around. I think I want to show you how I am able to see everybody all at once, because within Zoom, you can go upper right here. I don't know if you can see that. There are like these 4 options, you know, to minimize your picture window, have it a little bit bigger. You can turn it into this grid view, show grid video. It's in the upper left corner of all your pictures. Anyways, I'm able to see all of you, and I finally figured that out maybe last meeting. So if anybody else, you know, doesn't need their whole entire screen, you can look at everybody at the same time. That's all.
Thank you, Jamie. And last but not least, Ms. Fisher?
Yeah, happy holidays to everyone, and be safe. If you're traveling at all, drive carefully.
Okay, we are down to non-arranged participation. Is there anyone out there that would like to speak to us this evening? Just a reminder to try and use your raise hand symbol or *9 on your cell phone if you're calling in. I'm not seeing any. Justin, am I missing anybody?
Just a minute.
I don't see any.
Okay, we do have a closed session shown on our agenda to discuss pending litigation. If I could get a motion.
President's move we
motion.
go into closed session, discuss pending litigation in accordance with MLC 15.268, Section 8.
I'll second.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Donna. Motion to go in by Cousins, second by Fisher. Ms. Jones, please call the vote to go in, and then after
Yeah.
that, we'll.
Clarify that it includes bringing the staff in as recommended in the memo.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. As recommended on the last page. Yep.
Yeah, that goes in my motion. I don't want to do that. Okay,
On page
Hubbard,
135.
Yes.
Cousins,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Michelle's,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Keo.
Yes. Okay, we are in closed session. I'll ask Justin, you're gonna put us in a virtual room, or how you doing it?
I think we're just going to move everyone else out.
Okay, that works.